Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, because it's an international conference from wherever you are joining us. Might be the morning, the day, the night. For us in Australia, it's night time. So welcome all of you to celebrate the Sanghamitta Day with all of us together. Thank you so much for joining. So first of all, before we start this important celebration, I would like to ask Venerable Venerable Santari Mahateri from Indonesia, from Vihara Kusallani, to do the opening chanting and bless this event. And Venerable Santini is the first bhikkhuni in Indonesia. So we are so blessed to have the senior Mahateris with us. So this program is organized by the UTBSI, and I would like to first invite Venerable Santini Mahateri from Indonesia to inaugurate this event with your auspicious chanting and blessings on us. Thank you, Venerable.
Humbly, I ask permission to lead the chanting before this program begins with the Buddha words.
Can we have her spotlighted, please?
Pardon?
Ms. Tan, can we have the Santini spotlighted, please? Thank you. Thank you, Venerable Santini. Yes.
May I start? Okay.
Yes, sadhu, sadhu.
Arambatha Ninkamatha Yunjatha Buddha Sasani Dunathamat Manchuno Sena Nalagarang Wakunjaro Yo imas mingdamawinaye ampamanto vihasati pahayaja tisangsara dukkha santang karisati. Rouse yourselves, try harder, devote yourself to the teachings of the Buddha. Crush the army of death as an elephant, a heart of reeds. Whoever shall meditate diligently in this teaching and training, giving up transmigration through rebirths, will make an end of suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arya Mahateri Santini from Indonesia. Thank you so much. Vandami Arya.
Yeah, Sukihotu.
So, the permission of the Mahasangha, may I speak few words? So today we have gathered here to celebrate one of the most important events that took place in the history that is important to all the Buddhists in all around the world, not just for the Indians or just for the Sri Lankans, but not just for the Bhikkhunis, but for all the Buddhists in the world. The Buddha Sasana is on 4 pillars: Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasak, Upasika. They are the ones who carry the baton and spread Buddhism all around the world. So after Buddha said the Sasana, it was our duty, the Fourfold Assembly's duty, to carry out the Buddha's mission, that is to help many who are suffering, who are stressed, to find the freedom from stress and the suffering, and to live joyful, happy, blissful lives by living in the right way. So it's our duty to carry this message. And in today's world, I think there is no other time in the history, I think the Buddha's teachings are more important and relevant than this time. Because we see a lot of stress and suffering prevailing everywhere. And more things we do to live a comfortable life, but we find more stresses coming up, and a lot of people are physically, mentally sick and stressed. So Buddha pointed out, it is this avidya, that our ignorance about what's going on, what's happening, who am I, what am I supposed to do here, not knowing all that, creating this stress and suffering. So Buddha clearly pointed out that it's this sense of self, the selfishness, the ego, that's creating this stress and all the suffering. So Buddha pointed out a way to how to get rid of this selfishness, the ego, the realization of non-self, or the realizing there is the body, the feelings, the emotions, the thinking, they're all impersonal activities going on. So Buddha pointed that out to us, how to come to this realization. So when we realize there is this anatta aspect, there is active body and the activities going on, but no specific person or someone doing these things, we become free from stress. The suffering will be, but there won't be anyone to personalize that suffering. So we can be free from that suffering. We can live very comfortably, peacefully, happily, but without stress and suffering. We can face all the things that we are facing today without sadness, without crying, without getting angry, without anxiety and worries, without fears, without all these emotions that making us to suffer. There is another way to live with total peace and happiness if we can come to this realization, whether there is an I or not. So it's up to us. After Buddha had shown it to us and Buddha lived with that realization, so Buddha didn't suffer. It showed very clearly in Buddha's day-to-day life, in the Charita Padana, in Buddha's life story. If you examine, you see that Buddha never got shaken by anything. Buddha had imperturbable serenity of mind while facing all the vicissitudes of life. And if we follow Buddha's teachings, we can also get there to get this imperturbable serenity in our mind. And this is what we are looking for. So it's up to us now to realize this and live on that and help others also to find this peace of mind and happiness and this stability and this serenity, the peace, the happiness they're looking for, to get it in the right way. Because more we look for happiness, all we know in today's life is how to get it by doing things to find quick relaxations, from drugs to the drinks to the sex to all the other activities, playing games, the watching the TV, the pornography, the going on the tours, and lipstick and makeup and doing this, that, and the other. And we try many things. Everything we try actually is to find happiness. But more we go in this pleasing our senses and finding happiness in that way, you get a short-term temporary relaxation and you feel comfortable, but it's only very short time and it has a lot of consequences following that. The causes and conditions coming together for ill health, for shorten the life, not to even have peace of mind, but destabilizing, and you even get mentally ill, physically ill. So this is why it's not good to look for this happiness in this short-term temporary way. So that's why the Buddha's message is so important at this time, to get it right, that we learn how to find this real, true peace of mind and happiness. So in carrying that message across, there were many landmarks, historical landmarks in the Buddha Sasana. So one of them is when King Asoka's, Emperor King Asoka's daughter, Arahat Sanghamitta Theri, coming to Sri Lanka with the Trima Bodhi tree sapling. And also, after arriving in Sri Lanka, not just leaving that revered, the longest historical records that we have on a tree is that Bodhi tree, not just giving us that sacred Bodhi tree, but also the Bhikkhuni order started from Venerable Sanghamitta Theri, starting from Anula Theri, and it is from there the current Bhikkhuni lineage exists. Even though Mahapajapati Gautami Theri is the first Bhikkhuni, but the contemporary Bhikkhunis actually trace their history back to Sri Lanka. Why? Because of Venerable Sanghamitta Theri and Venerable Sanghamitta Arahat Mahatheri, and then Arahat Anula Mahatheri. And then after that, there were a few ordinations in the recent time. I normally say the recent Sanghamitta is the Venerable Bhikkhuni Kusuma Mahatheri, and like that, the current Bhikkhunis, whether it's Mahayana or Theravada, they all trace their history back to Sri Lanka. So this arrival of Venerable Sanghamitta Arahat Mahatheri is very important to all the Buddhists. So let's celebrate Venerable Sanghamitta Arahat Mahatheri's service to the Buddha Sasana, and then we can learn a lot of things also. So there's a lot of speakers tonight who will contribute to this celebration. So first, the keynote speaker is our Anna Halfoff. So much merits for accepting our invitation. And let me introduce her to you if some of you are new. She's very well known, but I'm going to introduce her anyway. So if there is people who don't know about her, to get to know about her. Professor Anna Halfoff is Associate Professor of Sociology in the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at Deakin University in Australia, and leads the Spirituality and Wellbeing Research Network. She has been a chief investigator on 2 recent Australia Research Council discovery projects on the worldviews of Generation Z Australians and religions diversity in Australia, and is currently leading another on Australian spirituality. She also a chief investigator on the Buddhism in Australia research project, led by the Nantian Institute and funded by the Sinyum Education Foundation. Anna is the author of the Multi-Faith Cosmopolitan Solutions, Springer 2013, and co-author of Freedoms, Faith, and Futures. Teenage Australians on Religion, Sexuality, and Diversity, with Andrew Singleton, with Marg Lou, Rasmussen, and Gary Baumer, Bloomberg 2021. So, Anna, we look forward to hear from you. We welcome you and thank you very much for coming tonight, dedicating your valuable time and presenting this to us. Thank you so much. We look forward to hear from you. So let's welcome Professor Anna Halfoff.
Thank you very much. So thank you to the United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International, and particularly to Venerable Bodhicitta and Dr. Rajgopal Pravina, who hopefully is also with us on Zoom tonight. So thank you very much for inviting me. I feel very honored to deliver this address on this very auspicious occasion. So I'm just going to share my slides now. And if somebody could just confirm with a yes or a hello, or like a thumbs up that you can see them. Yes? Okay,
yes,
thank
yes,
you.
Yes, can be seen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I will begin now. So as we all know, Buddhism is one of the world's largest religions, with a high degree of popularity globally, and yet despite its largely positive public image, it continues to play a part in perpetuating cultures of direct and structural violence, including gender inequality. So gender disparities continue to persist globally in Buddhist societies and organizations, linked to cultural and religious beliefs and practices that at times can allocate a lower status to women. In addition, most Buddhist archetypes of enlightenment are male, and positions of power and privilege within the majority of Buddhist organizations continue to be held by men. So this presentation draws on research that I have conducted together with Professor Emma Tomalin and Dr. Carolyn Starkey, both from the University of Leeds. And it's investigating the ways in which Buddhist women and the social movement, the International Buddhist Women's Social Movement, is addressing gender inequalities through digital and offline activism. These women and their male supporters use Buddhism and at times feminist frameworks, and they see it as their responsibility to improve the lives of and opportunities available for Buddhist women by advancing gender equity through real-world and digital activism, both locally and internationally. So my title is Digital Dakini. So what is a dakini? So a dakini is a Sanskrit word meaning a female messenger of wisdom. The Tibetan word for dakini, kandro or kadro, has been translated as skygoer or space dancer. Michaela Haas states that as dakinis are elusive and playful by nature, trying to nail them down with a neat definition means missing them. Because dakinis are said to break through blockages and obstacles, they are often associated with an uncomfortably fierce demeanor. They are willful and can also be wrathful when required. As Judith Simmer Brown explains, in this, her most essential aspect, she is called the formless wisdom nature of the mind itself, or an inner ritual level. She is a meditational deity, visualized as the personification of qualities of Buddhahood. She is also spoken of as a living woman. She may be a guru on a brocaded throne or a yogini meditating in a remote cave, a powerful teacher of meditation, or teaching directly through her life example. And finally, all women are seen as some kind of dakini manifestation. So when questioned regarding women's ability to attain enlightenment, the Buddha is said to have answered that women were equally capable as men and to have agreed to ordain them on the condition that they followed an additional 8 conditions that monks were not and still are not required to follow. These instructions remain contentious, given that they, alongside many other controversial references from Buddhist texts, can be seen as discriminating against women and are often cited as the underlying causes of gender inequality in Buddhism. Yet some scholars argue that the 8 conditions may not have actually been imposed by the Buddha, but rather added subsequently by his followers. So during the Buddha's lifetime, women became fully ordained nuns, bhikkhunis. However, gradually nuns became marginalized in many Buddhist societies due to patriarchal domination. It was the dire situation of nuns that led to the creation of the global Buddhist social movement Sakyadhita, Daughters of the Buddha, the International Association of Buddhist Women. Buddhist laywomen, scholars, and nuns were determined to revive full ordination for women and to improve their levels of education and living conditions, particularly in so-called developing countries. Since its formation, nuns from Burma, Indonesia, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Australia, and the United States have received full ordination from bhikkhunis or from fully ordained monks. These ordinations and the gender-related issues that underlie them remain controversial, and Sakyadhita and other Buddhist women's organizations and networks continue to support women and men from diverse traditions in their quest for gender acceptance of full ordination, various types of training, educational opportunities, and improved standards of living for Buddhist nuns and women, particularly in economically poorer societies. So Sakyadhita was formed in 1987 after the first international conference of Buddhist nuns that was held in Bodh Gaya, India, the place where it is believed the Buddha reached enlightenment. Sakyadhita is primarily an international advocacy and communications network, which has a central website, national branch websites, and a significant online presence on social media. Sakyadhita holds biannual international conferences and promotes research and publication on Buddhist women's history and contemporary issues. Founded 20 years later in 2007, the Alliance for Bhikkhunis supports ordained Theravada Buddhist women's education, economic empowerment, and healthcare, and campaigns for gender equity in Theravada monasticism. It has a strong online presence with a web and Facebook page, and also conducts many grassroots projects in Sri Lanka, India, Eastern Europe, and North America. In more recent years, more of this activism promoting gender equality in Buddhism has been conducted digitally through websites, Facebook pages, and Twitter accounts by members of Sakyadhita, the Alliance for Bhikkhunis, and others. as part of the rise of global digital activism, supporting processes of democratization and peace building. So patterns of patriarchal and androcentric, that is male privileged gender relations, are deeply embedded in many religious traditions, and gender inequalities persist in contemporary religious institutions and societies, including in Buddhism. Alongside a global interest in Buddhism, especially in Western societies, scholars and Buddhist practitioners are becoming increasingly aware of the historical and textual origins of these gender biases within their traditions. And this interest in gender issues is often associated with Buddhism's transmission to the West and the impact that Western values and traditions have had on so-called modern Buddhism. However, the assertion that the impetus for raising the status of women in Buddhism has come from the West is deeply problematic. And as one of Sakyadhita's founders, Professor Kamalekshya Somo, who's pictured in the center here, has stated, the daring initiative of the Buddha and his stepmother, Mahapajapati, the first woman to be ordained, in founding an order in which women participated fully with men is a liberating narrative in Buddhist societies. At the same time, Somo acknowledges that patriarchal and sexist elements persist in contemporary Buddhist institutions at odds with human rights and liberal sensibilities, and also the need to counter them by drawing on feminist and Buddhist principles. Somo outlines similarities between Buddhist and feminist ideals of liberation, including alleviating the suffering of the oppressed and disadvantaged. She also states that Sakyadhita encourages women's leadership, scholarship, spiritual growth, and creativity, as does the feminist movement. Yet she believes that there is still much to be done to understand and document the intersections between Buddhism and feminism. Okay, I'm going to go a bit faster now and finish up. So there are some similarities here with what Stuart Hoover and Nabil Etchaibi have described as third spaces in digital religion. And they draw here on earlier work of Edward Soja, Homi Bhabha, and Ray Oldenburg. And they explain that we think of digital spaces as important performative sites of enunciation, where formal and unitary structures of religious knowledge and practice become the object of both revision and transformation. As such, the digital, with its own communication logic, stylistic features, and convergent properties, can become a significant site of disruption and invention. We believe the digital hosts and mediates critical articulations of liminality, translation, and negotiation of cultural meaning. Third space arguably unsettles the singularity of dominant power narratives and opens up new avenues of identification and enunciation. So in ultramodernity, the traditional and modern are intertwined, and the Buddhist women's movement demonstrates that old divisions between Western and Asian Buddhists, lay people and Sangha, scholars and practitioners are becoming increasingly blurred and outdated as alliances form not so much in between, but across spaces in response to common concerns. As Somo explains, a new reevaluating of women, incorporating and drawing strength from both Buddhist and feminist values, is one of the most visible and significant features of the current global transformation of Buddhism, which exemplifies the complex and multidimensional flow of influences between Asia and the West. So to conclude, Emma Carolan and I argue that the Buddhist women's social movement has created an offline and online third space community of women and men who share a common commitment to advance gender equity, drawing upon traditional and modern narratives and technologies. Digital dakinis, cyber sisters, as we've also called them, have created offline and online third spaces to foreground the equality and power of women in Buddhism by posting and blogging images, narratives, and texts related to historical and contemporary yoginis and dakinis, which question and usurp dominant patriarchal narratives within Buddhism. This is a form of activism, but also a spiritual practice consistent with aspirations of fulfilling the responsibility of a yogini and dakini to spread wisdom throughout the world, to assist all beings to become enlightened, and to free all beings from suffering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, for giving us that very informative keynote speech. And at the end of our webinar, we will summarize everyone's key points and we will go through it at the end of it. So I'm not going to do it now, so the audience can refresh their memories about everyone's, all the speakers, the important points. At the end of this session, Dr. Praveena will go through them, so I will not take time here. But thank you so much, Anna, for giving us this very informative talk. Thank you. So the next is Venerable Tata Loka Mahateri from USA was scheduled, but she just let me know that she is very unwell and she can't attend. So then I thought of, okay, because she had to cover the legacy of Sanghamitta theory in the spread of Buddhism, which is the main part of this webinar. So then I thought, am I going to do it or should I invite someone? And then I thought of someone who is so qualified to do this, our Upasika, Sirini Kularatna Samaripati. She is a counselor in here in Melbourne, and also she just provides voluntary counseling for the army in Sri Lanka. And at the same time, she's a good meditator and also active member in Sakyadita and more Buddhist circles here. And also she has a very special interest in the history of Sri Lanka and a lot of things that important to Sri Lanka. So I thought she will be the best one. So I quickly contacted her and she took up the challenge that she will do this one. So thank you so much for coming forward and covering this topic for us at the last minute. I won't take much time, but I will invite Ms. Sirini Kularatna Samaripati to cover the legacy of Sanghamitta in spread of Buddhism. Thank you so much.
With much respect to the Mahasangha and the lay community. I had about an hour and a bit to put this together, so bear with me. I will have to read from my notes. So yesterday was the full moon day of December. In Sri Lanka, we call it Undua Poya Day. This is especially for Sri Lankans. It's a very Sri Lankan Buddhists. It's a very important day in the history of Sri Lanka. Two significant things happened on this day. One is the arrival of Arahat Sanghamitta Theri, and the other was bringing of the Bodhi sampling to Sri Lanka. I will take this opportunity to guide myself in this presentation, asking three questions. Who is Sanghamitta Theri? Why did she arrive in Sri Lanka? What made her bring a Bodhi sampling to Sri Lanka? In order to answer those questions, I need to give a quick pre-history to get to the questions. And for those who are not Sri Lankan, there might be a bit more information here that's new. So Lord Buddha arrived 3 times in Sri Lanka. Royalty and some parts of the population experienced the teachings, but somehow Buddhism didn't establish in all of Sri Lanka during those times. About 300 years later, at the time of the reign of King Devanampiya Tissa, King Ashoka decided to send his son Arahat Mahinda with the message of Buddhism to his friend King Devanampiya Sri Lanka, which he did. With Arahat Mahinda's arrival, Lord Buddha's teachings spread across the whole country, and Sri Lanka became a Buddhist country. During this time, King Devanampiya sister-in-law also started learning and practicing the teachings of Buddhism. And she lived a renunciant life. She wanted to ordain, but we didn't have the Bhikkhuni ordination then. So she went to King Devanampiya and said that she would like to ordain as a nun. King Devanampiya went to Arahat Mahinda with this request and said that in order to ordain, and that Princess Anula, that was her name, would like to ordain. And Arahat Mahinda said that in order to ordain nuns, he needed to bring the Bhikkhunis down because of the dual ordination. And the best person for this would be his own sister, who was a learned Arahat Theri herself. Her name was Sanghamitta. The meaning of the name is friend of the Sangha. The King Devanampiya also requested that a sampling of the Bodhi tree under which Lord Buddha enlightened would be brought to Sri Lanka. These requests were communicated by Arahat Mahinda to King Ashoka. Now comes Sanghamitta Theri. So King Ashoka, whose daughter is Sanghamitta Theri, she was born in 282 BC, and she was an Arahat Theri herself. So he invited Sanghamitta Theri to come to Sri Lanka in order to give the nuns ordination and also fulfill the request of bringing the Bodhi sampling. So a right hand branch of the Bodhi tree that Lord Buddha enlightened under was brought by Arahat Sanghamitta Theri to Sri Lanka. So I might quickly share a PowerPoint I put together for this purpose. Bear with me. So this is a painting at the Kalani Rajamahaviharya of Sanghamitta Theri arriving in Sri Lanka, and here's the Bodhi tree that she brings with her. And she is accompanied by other bhikkhunis. Now, Arahat Sanghamitta Theri arrived at Dambakola Pattuna, which is here. There is currently this statue that's made of Arahat Sanghamitta Theri. This is where she landed when she came to Sri Lanka. So with Arahat Sanghamitta Theri's arrival, Princess Anula and thousands of her companions were bestowed with the Papija ordination, establishing the Bhikkhuni Sasana in Sri Lanka. Fast forwarding to 700 years later, from this establishment of the Sasana, the Theravadi Bhikkhuni Sasana spread to other countries. In 429 AD, Bhikkhuni Devatsara, with a group of bhikkhunis, took a cutting from the Sri Lanka Bodhi tree, the Bodhi sampling that came to Sri Lanka and which was established in Anuradhapura. This is a recent photograph of it. It is a very, very big Bodhi tree now. We travel by boat to China in 429 AD. And some bhikkhunis who were already ordained by the monks in China, but had not had the dual ordination, ordained at that time and became bhikkhunis with the dual ordination. In 433 AD, another group of Sri Lankan bhikkhunis joined the bhikkhunis who stayed back, and more than 3,000 Chinese nuns were given ordination by the Sri Lankan bhikkhunis. This Chinese lineage continued to date, later spreading to Taiwan, Korea, and Vietnam. And fast forwarding to about 1,500 years after that, these bhikkhunis ordained in those countries helped in reviving the Theravada Bhikkhuni order again in Sri Lanka. Thank you. This is actually relics of Bhikkhuni Anula, who was the first bhikkhuni, Arahat bhikkhuni, who was sister-in-law of the king, Devanapyatas.
Thank you so much, Upasika Sirini. I think you did a very good job within, given that within few hours time. And I think we heard about the legacy of the Sanghamitta Mahateri in the spread of Buddhism. And it was so informative, and thank you so much. And we will look forward to the summary by Dr. Praveena. And once again, I would like to thank Upasika Sirini for joining us with that last minute notice. Thank you so much, and you did so well. And also, I would like to wish Arya Tataloka Mahateri a speedy recovery. And let's wish from all these merits that we generate today. May she get well soon. May she be well and happy. Okay, moving into the next item in the program. It's now Professor Howe Min's video. I also would like to thank Mr. Visitha Leela Ratna for allowing me to take this video, because Professor Howe Min also not really very well and not contactable at this moment. So I thought of getting his previous interview regarding this very same topic. Professor Howe Min has visited with his teacher, Professor Siripala Leela Ratna, who was a professor in Sinhala language serving in Chinese University. And they have visited together, in Nanting, where the first Bhikkhuni ordination took place. From there, the Bhikkhuni lineage continued, and the current master, Master Lung Liang, lives in Mount Amei, and that they visited to Mount Vermey and visited current Master Bhikkhuni in China. And it was a very inspiring story that the Professor Howe Min shares with us. How was the experience? And I would like to play it now, and let's see what Professor has to say. And you need to actually pay attention to the subtitles, because he's speaking in Sinhala, and we had to get the subtitles. And I also want to thank Dr. Anuruddha and everyone who helped me to get the English subtitles into this. So let's listen to this.
විශේෂයෙන්ම අවුරුදු 40කට උඩදී මම ඇතුළුතුමා සමග ඒ ගිය ගමන ගැන මතක් වෙනකොට ඊටාම සතුටුදායක සිහිවටනයක් කියලා ඉස්සර වෙලාම කියන්න ඕන. ඒ කාලේ මම බේජිං විදේශ භාෂා විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ සිංහල අංශයේ ආචාර්යවරයෙක් වෙලා අවුරුදු 4කින් පස්සේ මට මතක හැටියට මේ 1980 මම ආචාර්ය මණ්ඩලයට බැඳිලා අවුරුදු 4කින් පස්සේ මට අවස්ථාවක් ලැබුණා මහ ඇදුරුතුමාත් සමග ඒ කියන්නේ මගේ ආදරණීය ගුරුතුමාත් එක්ක මේ වයඹ පැත්තට ඒ කියන්නේ සිචුවන් පළාත මේ යන්න ඒ පළාතට යන්න ඒ ගමනේ අරමුණ චීනයේ එකල භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේලාගේ සංවිධානයේ ප්‍රධානයා ඒ කියන්නේ අංක 1 චරිත දරන අපේ භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේ ලොන්ලියන් මාස්ටර් ලොන්ලියන් පැහැදකින්ද එතකොට ඒ ගමනට පෙර මම ආචාර්යවරයෙක් වෙලා ඉන්න කාලේ අපේ ගුරුතුමාගෙන් දැනගන්න ලැබුණා ලංකාවේ තස්සිල් මෑණි වරුන් අතර සංවිධානයක් තියෙන බව. එතකොට ඒ සංවිධානයෙන් හරි යාළුවන්ගෙන් හරි නිතරම පණිවිඩය අපේ ගුරුතුමාට ලැබෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ පසුබිම් දැනුමක් හැටියට කියන්න වටිනවා මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මම කියන්නේ අපේ විසිත මැතිතුමා මතක් කරපු ඉතිහාස පිළිබඳව. ඒ කියන්නේ චීනයේ මූලාශ්‍රවල සඳහන් වුණ විදියට ක්‍රිස්තු වර්ෂය 5 වෙනි සියවසේ එනම් මහානාම රජුගේ කාලේ විශේෂයෙන්ම 428 දී ඒ වගේ ඓතිහාසික සිද්ධියක් සිදු වුණා. ඒ කියන්නේ චීනයේ ඒ කාලේ භික්ෂුණී සංවිධානයක් තිබුණා. නමුත් භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේලා ඉන්දියාවෙන් පැමිණ සිටින වැඩ සිටි මේ ගුණභද්‍ර කියන නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේගෙන් විමසුවා ඒ නීත්‍යානුකූල උපසම්පදා ක්‍රමයක්ද කියලා. එතකොට මේ කොහොම වුණත් ගුණභද්‍ර නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ කියපු විදියට නම් භික්ෂුණී පිරිසත් සමග ඒ උපසම්පදා උත්සවයේ සංවිධානය වුණොත් වඩා කියන්නේ නීති අනුකූලයි කියලා. මොකද ඒ කාලේ භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේලාගේ තද ඉල්ලීමක් තියෙනවා අපේ නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේගෙන් උදව්වක් ඇතිව ඉන්දියාවෙන් හෝ ලංකාවෙන් හරි රටකින් ඒ වගේ භික්ෂුණී වහන්සේ පිරිසක් ආරාධනා කරලා මෙහි චීනයට. එතකොට මේ චීන මූලාශ්‍රවල කියන විදියට මේ ගුණභද්‍ර ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේගේ යෝජනාව පිළි අරගෙන ලංකාවෙන් ඒ කාලේ නැවපති කෙනෙක් හිටියා මේ නන්දි කියලා දායකයෙක්. එතුමාගේ නැවින් තමයි ඒ කාලේ මුහුද සේන මාවතේ ඔස්සේ නිතරම භික්ෂු වහන්සේලා හරි විලැන්දොත් සමග යන්නේන නැවක් හැටියට ප්‍රසිද්ධයි. නන්දි නැව්පතිතුමාගේ නැවෙන් තමයි ඒ බෝට්ටුවෙන් එහෙම නැත්තම් කියනවා නම් මුලින්ම ලංකාවෙන් භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේලා 8 නමක් ඒකාලේ චීනයේ අගනගරයක් වූ නන්ජින් නගරයට සැපත් වුණා. ඒ වැඩියාට පස්සේ එතකොට ගුණපත්‍ර නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ නැවත වතාවක් කිව්වා එහෙමනම් අඩුම ගානෙන් 19ක් සිටියොත් තමයි වඩා හොඳ කියලා. ඒ නිසා තවත් දෙවෙනි පිරිස එනකම් ඉන්න වන ඒ ආප 8-9 චීනයේ ඒ වගේ වාකං විහාරයේ ඒ ආරාමයේ අවුරුදු කීපයක්ම චීන භාෂා හදාරන්න සහ චීන මේ අර පන්සල් වල ආරාමික ජීවිතය හෝ ආගමික වතාව එකට හුරු වෙන්න හිටියා. එතකොට 432 දී සමහර මූලාශ්‍රවල සඳහන් වන විදියට 433 දී දේවසාර කියන නැත්නම් චීනේ ශබ්දයට අනුව තියසා ලෝ කියලා සමහර අය කියන්නේ තිසර සමහර විත්වතුන්ගේ හිතන විදියට නම් දේවසාර කියලා තවත් පිරිසත් සමග දෙවෙනි වතාවට ලංකාවෙන් චීනයට ගිය නායක භික්ෂුණි මාස්ටර් දේවසාර තවත් ඒ ගිය වෙලාවේ එතකොට අවුරුදු 4-5ක් චීනෙම මුල් පිරිස ඉඳලා චීන භාෂා හොඳට හදාarලා කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් විදියට තියෙන මේ 8-9ත් එක්ක තමයි ඓතිහාසික වටිනා සිද්ධියක් හැටියට චීනේ නැවත වතාවක් නන්ලින් කියන විහාරයේදී ඒ වගේ උපසම්පදාවක් නීත්‍යානුකූලව මේ වගේ භික්ෂුණී තිපිරිස සමගම නැවත වතාවක් පැවැත්වුවා උපසම්පදාව. එතකොට සහභාගී වුණා ඒ කාලේ 300ක් පමණ චීනේ භික්ෂුණී වහන්සේලා නැවත වතාවක්. කලින් මේ උපසම්පදාව ලැබිච්ච අය නැවත වතාවක් අලුත් උපසම්පදා ක්‍රමයකට අනුව ආයත් මේ වගේ මේ විනය කර්ම අනුගමනය කළා. අන්න ඒ ඓතිහාසික සිද්ධිය අපේ ඇදුරුතුමා හොඳට දන්නවා. අපිත් එක්කත් ඒ ගැන කතා කළා. එතකොට ඒ සිද්ධිය ඊටාම ගෞරවයෙන් මතක් කරගෙන යෝජනා කළා මේ වගේ වර්තමාන චීනයේ ප්‍රධානම නායිකාව කියන්නේ මාස්ටර් ලුන්ලියන් භික්ෂුණී වහන්සේ බැහැදකින්න යන්න ඕනේ කියලා. එතකොට අපේ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ මේ වගේ මේ නිලධාරි පිරිසත් ඒක මේ ඊට අවස්ථා සරසා දුන්නා පිළියෙල කළා. ඒ පළාතේ ඉතා සාදරයෙන් පිළි අරගෙන ඒ කියන්නේ නිසි ලෙස පිළියෙල කරලා ඇදුරුතුමාව මේ පිළිගත්තා. අපි ඒ සිචුවන් පළාතට ගිය වෙලාවේ අපි ඉස්සර වෙලාම දැවැන්ත ඒ කඳු වලින්ම නිර්මාණය කරපු බුදු පිළිමය ඉතාම ලෝකෙම ප්‍රසිද්ධ හිටි පිළිමය අපි මේ වන්දනා කරන්න ගියා. එහි නගර සභාවේ නගරාධිපතිතුමාගේ මේ උපදේශයට අනුව ඉහළ පෙළේ නිලධාරී දෙදෙනෙක් අපිව කැටුව ගියා. ඇතුළුතුමා ඒක මේ වන්දනා ගමන ඉවර වෙලා තමයි ඊළඟ දවසේ අපි මේ කන්ද පැත්තට ගියා. මොකද ඒ කාලේ ලුන්ලියන් මාස්ටර් හිටියේ ඒ කන්ද බෑවුමක පිහිටි ආරාමයක. ඉතා ප්‍රසිද්ධ ආරාමයක්. ඒ කන්ද ගැන අපි මතක් කරනකොට මතක් වෙනවා ඒ පිළිබඳව කෙටියෙන් ඒ වැදගත්කම කියන්න. ඇත්තටම චීනයේ බෞද්ධ කඳු 4ක් ප්‍රසිද්ධම කඳු 4ක් තියෙනවා. ඒ එක බෝධිසත්වයන්ගේ මූලස්ථානයක් හැටියට. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අපි ගිය ඒ කාන්තට ඒ සමන්ත භද්‍ර බෝධිසත්වයන්ගේ මූලස්ථානයක් හැටියට ප්‍රසිද්ධයි. ඒ කියන්නේ පූතෝ කන්ද අවලුගතේශ්වර බෝධිසත්වයන්ගේ මූලස්ථානය හැටියට උදය කන්ද ඒ උදය කන්ද තමයි මංජුශ්‍රී බෝධිසත්වයන්ගේ මූලස්ථානය. චෝහා කන්ද තමයි අපි භූමි ගර්භ කියන මේ මහිතන්නේ නිවැරදි නම් බෝධිසත්වයන් වහන්සේගේ මූලස්ථානයක් හැටියට හරීම ප්‍රසිද්ධයි. එතකොට මේ කාන්තට මම ගුරුතුමාත් එක්ක යන්න කලින් ඇත්තටම ගිහිල්ලා නැහැ. මට ඊටාම වැදගත් ගමනක් වුණා අපේ ගුරුතුමාත් එක්ක ගිය ඒ විශේෂ ගමන. ඒ ගමන ගැන මතක් වෙනකොට ඒ ඇත්තනම ඓතිහාසික සිහවටනයක් ඒ වගේ මොහොතක්. ඒ නායකාව ලුන්ලිය මාස්ටර් ලංකාවෙන් ආපු ඒ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ සිංහල උගන්නන විශේෂඥයෙක් ආවයි කියලා ඊටාම සතුටු වුණා. ඒ කතා විලාසෙම මට හැඟී ගියා එතරම්ම සතුටු වුණායි කියන්නේ ඒ වගේ සම්ප්‍රදායේ අද මේ සිටින මාස්ටර් ලුන්ලියන්ගේ හිතේ අර ඉතිහාසයේ තියෙන මිත්‍රත්වය ඒ භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේගේ හිතේ ඊටාම මේ දැඩිව තැන්පත් වෙලා කියලා. මේ කියන්නේ බෞද්ධ රටින් ආපු විශේෂඥයෙක් මාව පැහැදකින්න ආපු ගමන ගැන මම ඊටාම සතුටු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ ආඩම්බර වෙනවායි කියලා. මේ බෞද්ධ රටක් හැටියට ලංකාව චීන බෞද්ධයන්ගේ හිතේ ඊටාම වැදගත් තැනක් හිමි වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අතවසින්ම ඒ සතුටට ඒ භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේ ඒ සාහිත්‍ය කලා පැත්තට ඉතා ප්‍රසිද්ධ චරිතයක්. ඒ භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේ සතුටෙන් එවේලේ චීන අක්ෂර කලාවෙන් ඒ කියන්නේ අක්ෂර පින්සලෙන් එහෙම ලියලා දුන්නා අපේ ගුරුතුමාගේ මේ ගමන ගැන. ශ්‍රී ලංකා චීන බෞද්ධ සම්බර්ධා මේ දියුණු කිරීමෙහිලා අපේ ඇදුරුතුමාගෙන් සිදු වූ මේ සේවය ගැන අගය කරලා තමයි එවේලෙම සතුටෙන් ලිව්වා. ඒ වගේම ඒ සතුට සාමිච්චයේ ඉදින ඉන්න වෙලාවෙත් මට හැඟි ගියා මේ ඉතා වැදගත් සිද්ධියක් මේ ඉතිහාසගත වෙලා කියලා. එතකොට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මම දැන් ඇවිල්ලා ලංකාවට මේ වෙනකොට ඒත් අවුරුදු 30කට කිට්ටු වෙනවා. මටත් දැනෙනවා මේ බෞද්ධ රටක් හැටියට ලංකාවේ මේ තියෙන වැදගත්කම. මම තාම පරීක්ෂණය කරනවා ඒ අපේ ගුරුතුමාත් එක්ක ගිය ගමන ගැන ඊටාම අපි මේ අගය කරනවා. ඒ වගේම හැම තිස්සෙම සිහියට නගිනවා. මේ ඒ වගේම ථේරවාද බෞද්ධ මධ්‍යස්ථාන හැටියට චීනයේ මධ්‍යස්ථානයට ගිය ගමන සහ මේ භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේ හම්බෙන්න ගිය ගමන ඒ ගමන් දෙකම මගේ ජීවිතයටම මම අමතක නොවන මේ සිහවටන හැටියට මං රඳා මේ විදියට මේ සිතේ තියාගන්නවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
So I would like to thank Mr. Visita Leela Ratna for giving me the opportunity to play this video. And also I would like to thank Professor How Min for staying with us and also sharing this with us. Even though the Professor Siripala Leela Ratna is no longer among us, but I heard from his nephew, Visita, that the documents about this trip and also a lot of the things that he found out when he was in China that are still intact. Evidence that the bhikkhunis that got ordained from the Theravada ordination, that they still exist there intact, and also those bhikkhunis really think that they are an extended part of this Theravada bhikkhunis from Sri Lanka. So that was one of the main cornerstone in spread of Buddhism after Venerable Sanghamitta had arrived to Sri Lanka. From Sri Lanka, it started to spread to the four corners of the world, actually thanks to the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis, the courage they had to go along the sea journeys. They were very dangerous, but they had the courage to go to the other countries to spread Buddhism. Even when he was talking, you know, the first 8 bhikkhunis arrived in China, but trips, many bhikkhunis have been on board and some have died. And before they get on board to go on a mission like that, they know at that time it's a life and death matter. If you survive, you can go and conduct your mission there. But there is so much of uncertainty in this type of dangerous sea traveling. At that time, there was no aeroplanes or anything like that. You just can't just go into one place and give a talk or give the ordination and come back. And as you heard, the first bhikkhunis who went there, so some lost their lives in both trips, and also whoever arrived there safely, they had to wait for 4 or 5 years there until the second batch came, and then the ordination took place, and I'm sure some of them, they stayed there. So this shows the courage of the ladies, the nuns, the bhikkhunis, and how committed they are to the spread of Buddhism. So without delaying further, I would like to ask one of the another heroine that we have alive is Venerable Bhikkhuni Dhammananda Mahatheri in Thailand. She's the first fully ordained Theravada Bhikkhuni in Thai soil. So she will talk a lot more on this topic that the emergence of the bhikkhunis from historical origin to the contemporary ones. Venerable Dhammananda Mahatheri was known as, when she was a layperson, known as Associate Professor Dr. Chatsuman Kabil Singh. Among many education qualifications that Venerable has, she has a PhD in Buddhist Studies from Moolaganda University in India. Venerable also taught Buddhism and Eastern philosophy at Thammasat University, Bangkok for 27 years from 1973 to 200. Associated member of Royal Institute from 1985 to 2000. Venerable also translated not less than 27 books from English to Thai. Some of the well-known are Saddhamma Pundarika Sutra and Freedom in Exile. It's about the His Holiness the Dalai Lama's biography, Dalai Lama, My Son. she's an author. Venerable is an author and a translator of more than 100 books. Wow. Venerable has been a prominent speaker in international conferences on Buddhism and environment, environment about women since 1973 to present. Venerable also founded ABC Asian Buddhism Connection, organizing international Buddhist conferences held in Thailand in 2015, 16, Indonesia in 2018, and in 2021 in Nepal. Also, Venerable ran a TV program on Channel 3 for Dhamma Talks every Sunday for 7 years from 1992 to 2000. Editor of Yasodhara, International Buddhist Women newsletter for 30 years between 1984 and 2012. Venerable also writes regularly in Thai for a column in the Matichong Weekly magazine up to present. Also, Venerable has received many awards. To name a few, UN Outstanding Buddhist Women Award in 2004. One of the 1,000 Peace Women nominated for Nobel Peace Award in 2005. And Venerable got the Prestige Women as Educator, Thailand in 2005. And Venerable was honored by Komal Keen Thong Foundation in Thailand in 2009. And Venerable also got the award for one of the 999 Tara Awards for social work in Thailand in 2012. Also, Sakyamuni International Award, Nagpur, India in 2012, she won. Also, she was one of the, Venerable was one of the 100 BBC Nobel Women in 2019. And leading interview on National Geography in 2019, Thai version. And Venerable is one of the founder coordinators of the United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International, our UTBSI, joined from 2021. She was a founder, Venerable was a founder coordinator. And also Venerable received honorary membership of Mahabodhi Society of India in 2022, and also admired Thai women creator. Venerable got that award from Thailand in 2023. Venerable's ordination. So Venerable became the first fully ordained Theravada Bhikkhuni in Thailand in 2000. I think I got the year wrong. Yeah.
2003.
2003. I have written 2023. I'm so sorry, Materi. So it's in the 2003 and has been engaged in giving education and ordination for women since 1984. And Venerable regularly organizes training for Buddhist women, and Venerable offered an international course on living Buddhism 7 times a year. And Venerable also offers temporary ordination twice a year to more than 1,000 female novice Samaneri since 2009. And also Venerable appointed as the first Pavattini trainer for Theravada Bhikkhuni in Thailand in 2014. And also Venerable organizes full ordination for Theravada Bhikkhunis every 2 to 3 years. And Venerable's commitment. Venerable is committed to establish an order of ordained women in Thailand where such status is neither available nor recognized. And Venerable is committed to bring about a better understanding of Buddhism to the larger public and to serve the Buddha in the best way Venerable can. And Venerable is deeply committed as a change agent to bring about responsibilities for Buddhists to be socially invalued for the betterment of their own practices and for the betterment of society. Venerable has been involved with Buddhism and nature conservation since 1985, working for Wildlife Fund Thailand.
Maybe Venerable, Venerable, I would be happy if you allow me to speak.
Sure. I think I just have to read the bit because it's so inspiring, Venerable, to get to know, what you have done.
That is all the past. That's all
Yes,
in the past.
I know, but it's good for everyone to know. So please excuse me and give me 1 more minute because it's very inspiring for women to see, not just Venerable Sanghamitta, not just Venerable Anulateri, not just Bhikkhuni Kusuma, but not just Venerable, Bhikkhuni Dhammasara, but even Devasara, but even today we have them living. So you're a living legacy, Venerable. So I'm so proud and happy to be able to introduce you to our crowd. So Venerable also committed to this education. Venerable believes in this educating women. So Venerable is an outstanding educator in Thailand and abroad. Venerable's temple has become an international center for foreigners who seek to have a better understanding of Buddhism, both at a philosophical level and practical level. And some of Venerable books on Buddhism are bilingual. Venerable is one among the very few learned scholars and even less as a monastic who is capable of delivering the sermon and teaching to both Thai and international audiences. So I have cut a lot, Venerable, with your request, but I want to mention those bits. So let's invite our Venerable Bhikkhuni Dhammananda Mahateri to talk about the emergence of the Bhikkhunis from the historical origins to contemporary times. Thank you so much for coming today, Venerable.
Thank you so much, Venerable Bodhicitta. Namo Buddhaya. I pay respect to the Buddha, and I would like to pay respect to Venerable Kalupahana, whom I have been looking at him for a long time, but have not yet folded my hands to pay respect to him. And also Barbara Yen, my old friend from Malaysia. Hello, Barbara. And also Venerable Sumangala from Malaysia. The topic that you have given to me is a long one. It could cover a large space. So what I just did a small video clip for you. So please allow us to see the clip. Thank you, Venerable. Namo Buddhaya. My respect to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and all the Arhats. My respect to Venerable Sivali, who is behind UTBSI. My respect to our UTBSI coordinators, Mahatheris and Theris from various countries. My respect and greetings to our speakers. Thank you so much for joining us to honor Venerable Sanghamitta. Tonight, we are celebrating Venerable Sanghamitta. Allowing me to show you my artwork, a clay sculpture of Venerable Sanghamitta. I did it around 2005. The topic given to me to speak tonight is emergence of Bhikkhunis from historical origins to contemporary times. The topic is oversized for the time slot, which allowed me to speak for 10 minutes. However, I will have to be skimpy in my presentation, but I shall try to highlight in each period and country and link them through a single thread of interest. This is to allow you to see why and how Bhikkhuni Sangha survive. At the emergence of Buddhism, the Buddha brought about a great social and spiritual shift. Social shift was to break away from the caste system. The women were kept even lower than the Sudra. Sudra is the lowest one in the caste system. Now they can be ordained. Women can achieve the highest spiritual fruit of salvation, herself. not depending on her husband nor her sons. This was a great shift in India. Yes, women can be ordained and walk spiritual path herself, like what we are now doing. The thread which is from Venerable Mahapajapati to our time, more than 2,600 years ago. Rejoice. Allow me to show you another sculpture, Venerable Mahapajapati. This is my very first clay sculpture that I ever tried my hand on. She may look a little simple, but she is my very first sculpture. Buddhism was prosperous in the Buddha's time. There were more than 500 women, 500 bhikkhunis who were enlightened. This is from the words of the Buddha himself. And among them, 13 of them were etathaka, that is, the Buddha praised them for their special qualities. In Sri Lanka, Mahavamsa and Dipavamsa, the chronicles of Sri Lanka in 4th and 5th century, confirm that the lineage of the Bhikkhunis went from India to Sri Lanka. Among them, from India, they also came from royal family. And in Sri Lanka, they also came from royal family. So we see these women, high class, upper class, educated. And this we will see that the role of education played a great reason for the success of the Bhikkhunis from then up till now. In Dipavamsa, chapter 18, it talked about, it gave the picture of the Bhikkhuni lineage. They were queens, these Bhikkhunis, the women who became Bhikkhunis, they were queens, they were princes, they were ministers' daughters, all high class, educated. Venerable Sanghamitta and 10 other Bhikkhunis who were sent as Dhammadutta, missionary, kind of Buddhist missionary from India to Sri Lanka. They went as teachers. They were intended to give ordination, thus they have to be well-versed. So all of them, they were well-versed in Dharma Vinaya, because they were going to start the lineage of the Bhikkhunis in Sri Lanka. The Bhikkhunis' survival is only in these two countries mentioned, namely India and Sri Lanka. The disappearance of Buddhism, together with the Bhikkhunis, together with the Bhikkhus and Bhikkhunis, happened in these two countries. Thus, after 12th century AD, it was Dark Age. Dark Age not only for the Bhikkhus, Bhikkhunis, but Dark Age for Buddhism in the whole area of India as well as Sri Lanka. In 1756, the lineage started again from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka came to Thailand to receive the lineage of the Bhikkhus back to Sri Lanka. Thus, this lineage is called Siam Vangsa, whereas the Thai monks, the Thai Sangha, received lineage from Sri Lanka long time ago in 13th century. So the lineage in Thailand is called Langa Vangsa. And the Sri Lankan monks taking back their own lineage back to Sri Lanka in 1756 and started Siam Vangsa. I'm sorry, no Bhikkhunis in this lineage. In contemporary time, Sri Lanka is a key point. It's a key point of interest because our senior Bhikkhus and Mahanayakas, they realize that the Bhikkhunis should be revived. I am most thankful to them. So this actually, they try to organize many times, but the one which is recognized as the beginning of the Theravada Bhikkhuni lineage happened in the year 1998. Theravada ordination in Sarnath, that was the one that we recognized. When 10 Sri Lankan bhikkhus, senior bhikkhus, gave ordination to 20 bhikkhunis from Sri Lanka. That was the beginning of the present day. Now we look at different countries. We see that in each country they did not receive ordination in their own country. They have to travel elsewhere. The first one that I would like to mention in 2000 was Indonesian women. They went to Taiwan to receive full ordination. In Taiwan, they received ordination both from Mahayana but also from Theravada bhikkhus. Thus, they started Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha in the year 2000. Indonesia went to Taiwan. In Vietnam, the Vietnamese bhikkhunis also went to Sri Lanka for their Upasampada in 2002. In Thailand, I have also to go to Sri Lanka to receive my Upasampada in 2003. In Cambodia, now emerging, they also have to go to other countries. UTBSI hosted Upasampada for bhikkhunis for the first time in the year 2023 in Bodh Gaya. So those women who travel from their country to receive ordination all have to travel to Bodh Gaya. From Thailand, we have one that went to receive ordination from this UTBSI. Side by side as the Theravada bhikkhunis struggle. Side by side, Tibetan lineage also try to revive the ordination. But I'm happy to report to you that actually the one that actually happened was in Bhutan. Bhutan, there were more than 100, something like 140 women received full ordination, Upasampada, in the year 2022 in Bhutan, but not the Tibetan lineage under His Holiness Dalai Lama yet. As I'm telling you, you can see that one thread that I was trying to show you through all these years. The very important point was education, because we could not, the bhikkhunis the women could not start ordination in their own country. Therefore, they have to travel elsewhere, seeking for the Sangha, Theravada Sangha, to help them establish themselves in Upasampada. So they have to travel elsewhere. Traveling need language. You go to Sri Lanka, you don't speak Sinhalese, so we speak English. We use English as our media. So unless and until we are educated, ordination is next to impossible for our time. So therefore, through all these more than 2,000 years that I mentioned, education is very important, very important. In Mahayana also, we see that the very first nun who start questioning about the possibility of ordaining, she also was from high class, from upper class, and she also had access to other languages. And she was the one who questioned and seek for ordination. So we see through these evidences, through historical passage, that from India to Sri Lanka to different countries now, all women need to be educated. And more important than education is their commitment to Dharma Vinaya. It's very important. I think the first batch need to be educated, need to have English as a media so that we could be in touch with our teachers who usually speak English. But later, once when they are established, they come back to their own country, then the next responsibility is the translation. They need to translate particularly verses, texts for Sanghakama. The Sanghakama text, particularly Upasambhada, need to be translated into your own script, This is also what I did in Thailand. The very first thing was to have the Patimokkha written in Thai script. It is easier for the local Thai Bhikkhunis to read, to recite from Thai script Patimokkha. So, with ordination comes also importance that we give to the text. We give to the text which we use for our Kamavaja, the text which we use for recitation. Very important that we have to transcribe into our own script. So all this need education. So that one thread that comes through is, in the beginning, women were upper class. Why upper class? Because when they speak to the audience, they gain respect from the people easier than if you are just commoner. But the key word for us to keep on our lineage is our sincerity in commitment to our Dharma Vinaya. So that's why the Buddha said to Ananda, to Venerable Ananda, towards the end of his life, that he already had given us this Dharma Vinaya for us to hold on to. So all of us, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, we need to be true to Dharma Vinaya, we need to be educated in Dharma Vinaya, and we need to keep our Sanghakama according to what is prescribed in the Vinaya. So this is what I can, in a short time, I can share with you of my interest through the passage of time, the bhikkhunis from India, through different countries, to our own countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arya Dhammananda Mahateri, for such informative talk. So I would like to put my head on your feet and Vandana. Thank you so much. You're an inspiration. May you have long life and live with us for a long time, and may you have the strength and the courage to do a lot more work to the Buddha Sasana and to the Bhikkhunis. So much merit. Continue. You are one of our heroines. So much merit. So next speaker is our Professor Asanga Tilakaratna, but I think he is having problems in logging. Let's see whether we have sorted that out. Yes, okay, yes, we can't see your mic. Okay. Until they sort it out, we can go to then Venerable Kalupahana Piyaratana Mahatero Avasarayi Nam Kiyanta Ape Haamuduruwane. So we would like to invite Venerable Kalupahana Mahatero to talk on the role of the Sri Lanka Bhikkhus in the revival of the Bhikkhuni Sasana. And I would also like to introduce Venerable Kalupahana Mahatero. Venerable was a former commissioner to the Human Rights Commission in Sri Lanka. and Venerable also working on the peace, reconciliation, and ecological issues. Venerable is one of the pioneers of revival of the Theravada Bhikkhuni ordination. So we would like to warmly welcome Bhante, and the floor is yours now, Bhante. So much merits for coming today.
Ayubowan. First, I would like to apologize all of you because I am not well to speak. In these days, there is a viral flu going on our country, and my area hit by that, and all the monks and novices are suffering from that viral flu. And I just came from the hospital after the treatment. So if there is any kind of difficulties to hear me, please apologize me. I would like to my best to express my ideas about this topic. The revival of Bhikkhuni Sangha in Sri Lanka and the role of the Sri Lankan bhikkhus in this particular cases. So I think most of the details of the Bhikkhuni Sangha and the legacy of Arahat Sanghamitta theories has been spoke here by very respectable lectures. So after the Venerable Sanghamitta theory came to Sri Lanka and established the Bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka and spread all over the world from Sri Lanka, the Bhikkhuni lineage. The Bhikkhuni lineage was highly brighted and highly respected by the people of Sri Lanka and all over the world. But unfortunately, late 10th century and early 11th century, after that period of time, we can't see anything about the Bhikkhuni ordination or Bhikkhuni Sasana in Sri Lanka or outside of the country, except China and other parts. We couldn't find any details about the Theravada Bhikkhuni ordination in Theravada countries like Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Sri Lanka. So time to time, the Buddhism has been revived by ancient kings and the bhikkhus in Sri Lanka and other Theravada countries, but not the Bhikkhuni ordination. But some kind of initiations and some kind of efforts taken by some bhikkhus and some Buddhist organizations in these countries. In late 19th century, early 20th century, we can hear about some voices for the Bhikkhuni ordination. In Myanmar, Mingun Jetavana Shadow, Narada Mahathera, but mostly known by his title name Mingun Jetavana Shadow. He was the teacher of the great meditation master Mahasi Shadow. The Mingun Jetavana Shadow mentioned many things in his commentaries. He wrote many commentaries for the Milinda Panha and some other books, in canonical books. In one particular commentaries, he mentioned about the revival of Bhikkhuni ordination. He is favor for the revival of Bhikkhuni ordination. And he said, the Buddha announced bhikkhus to ordain bhikkhunis. So we can use it even today because there are no bhikkhunis. Buddha gave it that announcement at the very beginning. There are no bhikkhunis, so they have to begin the bhikkhuni ordination. So there should be some kind of method. So Buddha gave that announcement. So now also we are living in a world without bhikkhunis. So why we can't use this announcement to re-establish bhikkhuni ordination? So it is a one kind of effort did by the Bhikkhu Sangha And the second effort in Thailand in 1928, two ladies, Sarah and Chongdi, ordained as bhikkhunis. Actually, we don't know who took the leading part of that ordination. The most venerable Mahathera's names were hidden, but it's a second effort. Try to re-establish bhikkhuni ordination. At the same time, in Sri Lanka, Venerable Anagarika Dharmapala has some kind of works for the bhikkhunis. He continuously talking about revival of the bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka, and he built a school for the bhikkhunis, nuns in Rajagiri, one of his own land, with the support of the Forest Provincial, Lady Forest Provincial. He established a school for the bhikkhunis, Buddhist nuns in Sri Lanka. It was he thought it can be revival bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka by giving training for the Sila Matas and other ladies in Sri Lanka. So at the same time, there are several monks in Sri Lanka. Venerable Hempetagadara Jnanasiya Mahathera, one of the very erudite and scholar monk, and very he was always see everything critically. So that Venerable Jnanasiya Mahathera also mentioned about we have to re-establish bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka. Even we can find bhikkhunis in this country. We have to go other countries to take the bhikkhuni ordination to Sri Lanka. This kind of things, the discussion was going on at that time. And the same time, the one of the Venerable Mahathera called the Naravila Dhammaratana Thera, he went to China, and he understood that in China there is a bhikkhuni ordination and the lineage. It is originated from Sri Lanka, and he came back and he wrote many articles and books about we can revival bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka by the support of the Chinese bhikkhunis. So he gave this idea to the Sri Lankan society. So this going on debate went on Sri Lankan society whether we can re-establish or not. At that time, the most of the there's two logics, two arguments for that. The part who are supporting to the bhikkhuni ordination called that we can have bhikkhuni ordination from the China because China lineage is our Sri Lankan lineage. In other side, that who opposed to the bhikkhuni ordination, the monks told, and their argument was that the Chinese is a Mahayana country, so it is not affiliated with the Theravada. If we want re-establish Theravada bhikkhuni ordination again, we have to wait for the Maitreya Buddha come and establish the bhikkhuni ordination. So this kind of debate went on, and even today it is going on. But in 60s and 70s, there were some kind of academic researchers. I can remember in the early 70s, I was in my childhood. In Sri Lanka, we have a Buddhist paper called the Buddhasarana. It is one of the very famous Buddhist paper among the people. So in early 70s, there was a headline in that paper called Meheni Sasna Yali Arambe. The bhikkhuni ordination will be re-established. So that means then the cultural department of Sri Lanka and several other monks like Hempeda Jnanasiya Thera, they were tried to establish bhikkhuni ordination with the support of the Chinese bhikkhunis, but it was vain because of that argument. That was the situation when the 1990 the decades of the 90 decades that the Mahasangha who gathered and tried to re-establish bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka, especially Venerable Mapalagam Vipulsara Mahathero from Mahabodhi Society and Venerable Talalle Dhammaloka Anunayaka Thero, Deputy Patriarch of Amarapura Nikaya. The most senior monks, these two senior monks, got the leadership and tried to establish bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka. So in this time, after the series of academic research by the Kusuma Devendra, later Bhikkhuni Kolonnave Kusuma, and Professor Hema Gunatilaka, Mrs. Ranjani Silva, and several others. So they determined to re-establish Bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka. So in that case, in 1996 in Bodh Gaya, there was a Bhikkhuni ordination with the Korean Bhikkhunis. For that case, there are several bhikkhus from Sri Lanka supported that ordination. I can remember their name: Venerable Talalle Dhammaloka Mahathera, Venerable Mapalagama Viplasara Thero, Venerable Kamurupiti Nandaratana Thero, Venerable Palpola Piyananda Thera from USA, Venerable Kakapali Anruda Thera, former Vice Chancellor of Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka, and Venerable Kumburukumaya Vajirathera, former Vice Chancellor of Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka, Most Venerable Kirinde Dhammananda Mahathera from Malaysia. This kind of very intelligent and academic, well-known Buddhist monks supported at that case. And later on, after a series of discussion, in 1998, the most famous ordination took place in Bodh Gaya. At that time, physically, our Mahatheras, Sri Lankan Mahatheras, Bhikkhu Sanghas participated for that purpose. Venerable Talalle Dhammaloka, Deputy Patriarch, and also Venerable Professor Kumburugami Vajira Mahathera, Venerable Kamurupiti Nandaratana Mahathera, Venerable Porovagama Somalankara Mahathera, Venerable Mahagal Kadavala Punyasara Mahathera, and most Venerable Inamalwi Sumangala Mahathera was participated at that time. So it was the turning point of the Bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka and world, and they took higher ordination in Bodh Gaya from the Taiwan Bhikkhunis, and then they went to the Saranath, Sima, and got the Theravada Bhikkhu ordination, and the re-establishment of Bhikkhuni ordination were fulfilled at that time. So these Mahatheras always gave their helpful hand for establishment of Bhikkhuni ordination in world. So what happened after that? After that, when the Bhikkhuni ordination was took place in Bodh Gaya, and when the Bhikkhunis came back to Sri Lanka, then there was a huge debate went on the papers and the media and in the society. So there are actually two groups of monks who are supporting to the Bhikkhuni ordination, who are opposing to the Bhikkhuni ordination. The first ever letter written to the article, written to the national paper by Venerable Gangodavila Somathero, very famous preacher in Sri Lanka, and he is now declaring as the founder of the modern Sinhala Buddhist ideology. So he wrote against the Bhikkhuni ordination, and he saw it as a one of the very dangerous harm for the Buddha Sasana in Sri Lanka. So then the Venerable Dr. Madampagama Asajithera, one of the deputy prelate of the Amarapura chapter, he wrote against that, and he supported to the Bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka. So this is the role of the Bhikkhus in Sri Lanka for the support and the oppose of the Bhikkhuni ordination. And then at that time, all the hierarchies, Mahanayaka Theras against, and there are several deputy prelates and some provincial Nayaka Theras who were supported to that ordination, especially Venerable Veligama Jnanaratana Mahathera. He was a Mahanayaka of Dharmarakshita chapter of Amarapura Nikaya. Then he was the second to the Madihe Panyasiya Mahanayaka Thera, the chief prelate of the Dharmarakshita chapter, and later the Supreme Patriarch of Amarapura chapter. Both of them were highly opposed, and Veligama Jnanaratana Mahathera wrote a book, Bhikkhuni Pavida, the Bhikkhuni Sasana. It is an earlier book. After the Bhikkhuni ordination, he revised it at amendment some part for that book and republished it. And then the Venerable Talalle Dhammaloka Nayakathero wrote a Prajapati Gautami's character and Bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka, and this kind of book he published. So this kind of thing went and happening. Still today it is happening. The most of the Mahanayaka Theras is still against the Bhikkhuni ordination, and the second and the middle level bhikkhus are always supporting to the Bhikkhuni ordination in world in Sri Lanka. So it is the situation of Sri Lanka, the role of the Bhikkhu Sanghas in Bhikkhuni ordination. Still, we are involving in Bhikkhuni ordination and the Bhikkhuni matters. But in some cases, some monks are some ways now talking with us. Some very hierarchy monks saying we would have to support Bhikkhuni ordination in the very first beginning. And some monks who supported to the Bhikkhuni ordination then we would not have supported the Bhikkhuni ordination. So there are some grievances from their both parts. So monks who supported supported to the Bhikkhuni ordination now say immediately after the ordination, all the Bhikkhuni community forget the names of that monks who supported to them. Still today, I can see that kind of some examples. I read many books about the Bhikkhuni ordination written by the Bhikkhunis from Sri Lanka and the outside of the Sri Lanka and some academics, but there are no some names, especially the Venerable Mapalagam Ipulasara Thera and Venerable Tale Dhammaloka Mahathera. Their names were not there. Both venerables were the pioneers, but their names are not there. Very big names, very big organizations' names, and very rich persons' names are in that books, but not the most pioneer monks' names there. So it is some kind of things that monks think twice about the Bhikkhuni ordination in world. So in some cases, I saw some books and websites and other things about the mention in the Bhikkhuni ordination. They put all the names of Bhikkhunis and other Bhikkhuni parts and all the pictures and everything from the Bhikkhuni parts, but not mention the Bhikkhu parts name or Bhikkhu parts, any pictures or something from the Bhikkhu parts. They just only mention in the Bhikkhuni ordination, not the Bhikkhu part of the Bhikkhuni ordination. So this kind of things happening. So we have to very carefully examine these things and have to resolve these problems. Otherwise, we would not have any support from the Bhikkhu side from Sri Lanka. There are so many frustration in Bhikkhu side on this matter. So this I am openly saying. So I let you to think and re-examine about that. And I'm not going much more details. So this is the role of the Bhikkhu Sanghas. I think you can read there are so many books written on that Bhikkhuni ordination, and there are names of the Bhikkhus who participated for that, and there are several names omitted from that books. So whether it is mentioned or not, Sri Lankan Bhikkhus are always open-minded and open-handed for the Bhikkhunis from all over the world to give their support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bante. Let me pay respect to Bante, putting my head on your feet. Anu Vandami. And I know, Bante, you only came to the monastery today from hospital. When I rang Bante just before this Zoom webinar to start, I had to make a request to Bante. That is our beloved founder, Venerable P.C. Mahanayaka Thero from Mahabodhi Society. Also sent me a message saying Venerable is very sick and Bante Sivali won't be able to attend. So then I had to quickly ask Bante Kalupahana Thero to cover, if possible, Bante Sivali's part as well, because it will go together anyway. So Venerable told me that you just arrived from hospital, spending few days in the hospital because Venerable was very sick. And like Venerable said, Venerable was very humble. You only mentioned that other monks being very sick. But I really appreciate Bante's commitment And even though Bante is not feeling well, but Bante came and delivered one of the most inspiring talks. It was very informative, and I also learned a lot of things about the history that which I didn't know. I think I have to go back to Zoom and listen to it after, because there was some technical issues going on, so I had to pay attention to that. But I learned a lot of the things that I didn't know about the history. And also, I'm so appreciative to Bante for bringing a very valuable point, that is to show the gratitude, have the gratitude, and not to forget the ones who have paved the way for us. And it's because I think there have been arguments about the first ordination and this, that, and the other. And with that, they are doing a great mistake, I think, just to give the prominence to the probably maybe for the second ordination, and to have the arguments that they want to not mention about the first ordination that took place in 1996, which Venerable Mapalagama Viplasara Thero and Venerable Thalali Dhammaloka Thero and Venerable Piyananda Thero and Venerable Kesiri Dhammananda Thero, and a lot of the prominent monks who worked so hard to bring the bhikkhuni into the scene and to ordain and start the revive the bhikkhuni ordination after thousands of years of silence. And then to talk about the technical matters and not to give the due credit to that ordination. It's being discussed with me by my teacher, Venerable Dr. Bhikkhuni Kusuma Mahatheri, late Kusuma Mahatheri, that how she also, Venerable also felt what was happening in Sri Lanka. And thank you so much for pointing that out, because like Venerable said, so a lot of the monks are now thinking, if our teachers, if our predecessors done a lot of work to revive this bhikkhuni sasana, and now the bhikkhunis or the others are not appreciating it, or they're just trying to not even mention the names of the pioneers. So that brings a big question mark as to where we are going and where we are heading and all that. So I think it's very important that we should not forget about our roots, and whether we argue about the technical points, that's a different thing, but the whole world accept that the first ordination was valid, and Bhikkhuni Kusuma was the first bhikkhuni from that ordination who led the other bhikkhunis and who really revived it and re-established it and gave the leadership. So I think it's something that we all need to note, that the Sri Lankan way, the Sri Lankans can have arguments about this, but the whole world is watching, and I think it's very important that we should not hurt the bhikkhus and everyone else who actually have worked so hard to pave the way for the bhikkhunis to be here today. So I would like to bring that to everyone's attention as well. Whoever is doing that mistake, please correct it if possible. And we must make sure that whether we believe in something that is technically correct or not, or this or that, I think we have to appreciate the enormous amount of work, the research that's been done by these pioneers. So Bante, with that, I think I will invite other speaker without taking too much time. But so much merits, Bante, for bringing that out and showing us that the gratitude is very important. And you pointed out that it's one of the things that we must have if we want to genuinely progress in the path and to move forward and to be genuine and to be able to get enlightened. We have to have this gratitude. So thank you so much for reminding us about the importance of having gratitude. So much merits, Bante, Bante, and wish you a speedy recovery, Bante. So much merits for being with us today. So next, I would like to invite Professor Asanga Tilakaratne, and Professor is going to talk about the resurgence of the Bhikkhuni Sasana with the emphasis on the significant contributions originating from Sri Lanka. Also, let me introduce Professor. Professor is a Emeritus Professor of Buddhist Studies, University of Colombo in Sri Lanka. And so without taking time, let me invite Professor Asanga Tilakaratne to the floor. Mic is yours. Thank you so much for being with us today. I think we can't hear you. Your mic needs to be on.
Okay. Can you hear
Yes.
you now? Hear me now?
Now, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very much, Venerable Bodhicitta, for this invitation, and also the United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International. I would like to extend my apologies for this technical mishap. Of course, this is a totally unknown territory. I really don't know what happened, but finally, again, with a good stroke of luck, I'm appearing before you. I have been asked to say a few words on significant contribution originating from Sri Lanka on Bhikshuni Sasana. In fact, I thought I will not talk much about the ancient history or the current history, which all of you are aware very much, and also the previous speaker, Venerable Piratana, that touched much of the more recent history of resurgence of Bhikshuni Sasana in Sri Lanka and also in the world. What I do consider to be an important Sri Lankan contribution is the space that in Sri Lankan society we had for dialogue and discussion on this matter. Of course, there were arguments both for and against, but still there was a continued conversation. And then finally, when in 1990s, when a group of Sri Lankan women get into the Bhikshuni order, and there was again both support and opposition. What I find interesting, even at this moment, is the conversation goes on, and still the official and the standard attitude to Bhikshuni Sasana is not approval, but nevertheless, for the people, for the ordinary monks, for the ordinary lay people, men and women, the organization works, I would say, perfectly. Now, there are many enlightened, educated, young Bhikshunis in Sri Lanka, and also they are going to the world. So therefore, I would consider it that this openness, of course, both for and against, the continuity of the conversation to be, something very important. And not talking too much about the current or ancient history. Of course, not that it is not important, it is important. I would rather say a few words about what I would consider to be two dimensions of Bhikshuni Sasana from the very beginning. Now, by two dimensions, what I mean is, one is what I would like to call soteriological dimension or religious dimension, and the other is the organizational dimension. Now, soteriological dimension is the, as you can see, the whole idea of that both men and women, irrespective of their gender, can attain nirvana, can realize nirvana, can follow the path, can be equal partners of the path. And in the Buddhist religion, from the very beginning, according to the Buddha, there were 4 groups of people: bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, and upasaka, upasika. All are taken together. The whole organization was envisaged with all the 4 groups, not exclusively with monks or nuns or renunciants or any categories like that. So in this soteriological dimension, I would think that it is very clear. I mean, there is no reason to debate, because it has been accepted from the very beginning in the Buddha Sasana, and then particularly in the Theravada tradition, there is no debate. It is accepted that both men and women are capable of following the path and attaining nirvana. So soteriological aspect seems to be nothing to be debated about. However, I think from the very beginning, what I would like to call organizational dimension was the challenging phenomenon. Now, there were challenges during the time of the Buddha, and then we can see that Buddha was coping with these challenges. For example, physical protection of the bhikshunis, when particularly in the kind of society like ancient India, where women are protected inside the family, initially by the father, subsequently by the husband, and then after that by their children. Women were protected. Now, to take women out of that context, where they were protected all the time, one challenge was, for example, how to provide protection for these people, the physical protection. Now, when we read the Buddhist literature, we know that there were serious issues about their physical protection. So things like that, I'm not going into detail. So there were organizational challenges, and then also how to situate these 2 groups. Now, it is again, I think the challenge was more in a way deeply rooted, the psychological state of both men and women. Now, when men wish to enter the order and try to terminate their suffering by getting rid of craving. Now, when we talk about craving or desire or tanha or thirst, now usually, mostly the men's thirst is for women. So in the same manner, when women are trying to get into the order and attain nirvana by eradicating their thirst, now that thirst is for mostly for men. Now you can see that to put these 2 groups together and then juxtapose them, makes them in physical proximity, was a huge soteriological challenge. Sometimes I see that people do not look at this aspect, these challenges, when they talk about, the Bhikshuni order or Bhikshu order and, these types of, the issues we are discussing today. I think these were some real issues the Buddha faced, and then Buddha had to cope with that. On the one hand, Buddha had to look after the physical protection of the bhikshunis, and at the same time, who is going to undertake that? So that sort of problems. But anyhow, coming to the modern times, the resurgence of bhikshuni order, more recent times, is something interesting. Is this type of organizational challenges are very much still there. Now, the previous speaker spoke about how the Buddhist monks response to the Bhikshuni Sasana. I mean, that is again a kind of local issue. But however, going beyond this type of local issues, when you look at the total organization, Bhikshuni Sasana, say in Theravada tradition. Now, again, I think there are certain things to be discussed in detail and also try to come into some kind of consensus and prior understanding. For example, we know that the Bhikkhu Sasana, the Sasana of the monks, has persisted, existed, continued, but still they have undergone a lot of changes. Now, how does this change take place in the tradition? Now, in the Theravada tradition, we know that when it comes to the Vinaya, Buddha allowed some type of change in the tradition. However, it is very interesting to see that when the monks, bhikkhus, got together after 3 months after the parinirvana of the Buddha, this question came to the discussion table. Venerable Ananda informed the Sangha that Buddha, before his parinirvana, said that if the monks so wish, they can change the what are called khuddha, anukuddhaka, small and even smaller, the Vinaya rules. Now, then there, according to the records, there arose discussion and debate as to what these khuddha anukuddhaka shikshapadas are. And it says that they could not come into some kind of consensus. And then Venerable Mahakashyapa, who was the president of the council, he decided that okay, we will not be changing the rules prescribed by the Buddha, and we will not have any new rules in their place. So it is very interesting to see that this decision made right after the 3 months of the parinirvana of the Buddha, in the Theravada tradition, there has never been another Sanghayana where they took a different decision. So in other words, still this decision remains. Now, but on the other hand, you can ask whether the Sangha as a group has not changed. Of course, it has changed in many ways. But then what about this decision at the first Sanghayana not to make any new rules and not to change any rules already established by the Buddha? Now, this is in a way some kind of paradoxical situation where as far as your official stance is concerned, you don't change anything. But on the other hand, when you look at the practicalities, people have changed a lot. So how would this, how to reconcile it? Now, this remains an open question I would say, in the Theravada tradition even today. Now, some people would say we have to come to, the agreement and, make a public decision that we will be changing certain rules. But some say that, no, we don't need to change rules, we have to go as they are. I recollect one of my personal experiences when I was teaching in postgraduate institute in Colombo, Pali and Buddhist studies. I remember one day I got, a telephone call from a lady asking me whether I can meet a Buddhist monk. Then I said, okay. And then I asked him to come. And then when this monk came, of course, I had gone out and I just came in. I saw this Buddhist monk standing in our lecture room. Then I knew that he was the one who came to meet me. So I went to him and first thing I said, Venerable Sir, why don't you sit? There were chairs in the lecture room. Then he very kindly and politely asked me whether he can talk to me standing. Well, it was kind of little strange, but still then I said that, okay, you can talk to me standing. Then we started talking in standing. And one of the questions he wanted to discuss was exactly the question of Ucha, Asayana, Mahasayana. What are the high seats and valuable seats? Okay, so then he thought that even in this classroom seat, chair was not suitable for him to sit on. Okay, then we started talking, and then I asked where is he coming from. He mentioned some place about 50-60 kilometers from Colombo, and then I asked how did he come. Then he said he came by walking. Then I mean, you could see that to walk, that many kilometers, it had taken 2 days for him. Then anyway, we had the long conversation. I'm not going to summarize the conversation, but this is one example where a certain Buddhist monk thought that he should observe all the precepts exactly in the same manner. And then his another question was whether he can go to hospital and lie on the hospital beds, whether these beds are allowed. And the seat in the bus, he thought it's not allowed. So that's why he walked. Now, this you may think to be a very extreme example. But then I started realizing if there was an official decision to change things, these precepts would not have been there. But on the other hand, mainly because the rules remain unchanged. If someone want to follow the rules to the letter, exactly they were followed during the time of the Buddha, still there is some room. So I started seeing that. But still in my personal level, I don't think that the attitude adopted by this particular monk is the acceptable attitude. That's a different thing. But anyhow, I started seeing another aspect of these rules and whether we can change them or not. So I'm not supporting not changing, but of course still I could see some meaning. That is my point. Now the question is, when the Bhikshuni order is restarted in our society, the 20th last century, and it has been now around 4 decades, and plus time it has existed in this new form. This my ignorance, perhaps, I don't know, but I think that there should be some discussions about the limits and the extent of change we can go. Of course, we can say that like the Theravada Sangha, you can also, the Bhikshuni order also can abide by that ancient decision of Venerable Mahakassapa and still go on officially not changing, but allowing changes to take place. So, that is one position. Another position would be to say that, no, we have to get together and, have, the large Sanghayana or something must address some of these, issues. So anyway, we can go on talking the points for both pro and, against. However, the important thing is, when you look at the Buddhist tradition, in the Buddhist tradition, we see that it existed in decentralized small groups. So the whatever the traditions were created around them. So the Buddha, we know that allowed certain rules to be changed depending on the situation. However, the important thing is Dhamma was not seen as deserving that kind of, or being subject to that kind of change. Dhamma is considered to be universal. Now, in this sense, we can see that particularly today, I am expressing these views before this organization where you are Theravada Bhikshuni Sangha International. Okay. Now, this is a global organization in that sense. Now, today we are living in a globalized society, global organization, where I am even with some technical failures speaking to you all over the world. So, the whole concept of regional or divisional or that type of divisions, in a sense, we can say no longer work. However, when we look at the Buddhist tradition, we can see that Buddhism talks about what is called the Chatuddhisa Sangha. Chatuddhisa Sangha means Sangha belonging to the all four directions. Actually, that's in a sense, Sangha belonging to the all four directions is kind of global Sangha. So now that concept was very much there even from the time of the Buddha. But today, due to our developments in technology, transport, communication, the entire globalness envisaged in Buddhism has absorbed a different dimension. Buddha taught the Dhamma to the entire world, entire all beings, Sabbe Satta. So that was not only. Now, when he envisaged his problem, human suffering, the Pali word used mentioned in the Sangyutta Nikaya is Kichang Vata Ayang Loko Apanno. Loko. The word is Loka. So even the Siddhartha, when he was thinking about his own existential suffering, he articulated in global terms. So now in that sense, of course, we can say the teaching is global. However, the Vinaya, when it comes to Vinaya rule, Buddha himself envisaged there can be certain, the regional or local variations on certain things. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is this. One point is that we need to see more and more broad-based global discussions among the bhikshunis, particularly about their, the new organization and the way of life. So, in that sense, today the bhikshunis are also religions are global, and at the same time, bhikshus have become a global organization. In the same manner, bhikshunis also have become Europe, we can still see that there can be regional factors that affect them. Now, interesting thing is
I think there is a signal problem in Professor Asanga's end, I think. So we are losing him, and I think we have lost him until he comes back. I think we can continue without wasting the time. Now the time is running out, but I believe that as long as we all get our ideas there and let it recorded and let it be archived, so people who want to leave early, they can leave, and later they can go to the YouTube and watch this. So let's take time and move on with the webinar. So whoever can stay with us, please stay with us. But if someone wants to leave because it's midnight for them, or they got some other things that they have arranged, you're welcome to, but please watch on the YouTube later. So now that we have lost Professor Sangatilaka Ratna, but I would like to thank him so much for taking time and coming and giving us some points to think about, and the topic that Professor Sangha was talking is a topic that, we need another webinar for that, so I won't touch that. But thank you so much, Professor Sangha, for sharing all your ideas with us. So now I would like to invite Dr. Diana Cousins. She's going to talk to us about from here to where. Dr. Diana Cousins is the Vice President of Buddhist Council of Victoria. She's a Foundation President of Sakyadipta Australia. I remember when we started the Sanghamitta Australia, I think when we met at Indonesia. It is at that time her and Venerable Dhammananda and Venerable, I think, Master Chi Kwan, and we come together and started the Sanghamitta Australia there. So she's the foundation president. Also the national, also Dr. Diana has a PhD in Himalayan studies and has been instrumental in Buddhist policy work, such as on disability access to temples and palliative care. She is also active in interfaith dialogue and represents the Buddhist Council on the state government of Victoria's multi-faith advisory group. So without delaying, I will let Dr. Diana to talk about the successes and challenges in the Bhikkhuni Sasana. Thank you so much for being with us today, Diana.
Thank you. And as is the Australian custom, I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and elders past and present. So my great thanks to Venerable Bodhicitta, the Mahasangha, and the organising committee for the invitation to speak here today. This is a great topic, and I feel we have already discussed many of the successes of the Bhikkhuni Sasana. The most obvious one is its re-establishment in 1996 in Sarnath in India, where 11 bhikkhunis were ordained by Venerable Dodangoda Revata Mahatera and the late Mappalagama Vipulasara Mahatera of the Mahabodhi Society in India, with the assistance from monks and nuns of the Chögyal Order of Korean Son, which you have already heard about from Venerable Kalupahana Thera. This was not a small achievement, and I remember meeting Venerable Kamalekshi Somo in what was then called the Inji Gompa, later Jamyang Choling, above Dharamsala in India in 1988. And hearing the establishment of the Bhikkhuni ordination, it seemed like a great but very difficult idea. And yet here we are, and it is already 27 years since the ordination was re-established. Now there are hundreds of bhikkhunis all over the world, many in charge of their own temples and communities, and your work is valued and recognized. I would like to acknowledge that this work has been enabled by the collaboration of bhikkhunis and lay supporters and bhikkhus worldwide who have developed significant networks for spiritual and scholarly engagement. There has also been encouragement for those aspiring to join the Bhikkhuni order with the establishment of infrastructure such as meditation dwellings to encourage lay women to practice side by side with bhikkhunis. And we must not overlook the support of senior monks such as Venerable Kalupahana, who has spoken today, and also Ajahn Brahmavamso and Ajahn Sujato, who directly contributed to the establishment of the Bhikkhuni ordination in Australia. I would also like to acknowledge of other challenges of Thailand will continue this success and what are the challenges to overcome. I would like to promote the idea of building communities. On one level, communities might refer to the temples or monasteries where you live. In these environments, I recommend that great attention be given to resolving interpersonal conflicts and taking as the ideal the model of the Kalyanamitta, the spiritual friend. And this is what the Buddha said in the Sigalovada Sutta. You can recognize a good-hearted friend who's compassionate on fortune. They delight in your good fortune. They keep others from criticizing you. They encourage praise of you. You can recognize a good-hearted friend who's compassionate on these four grounds. The Buddha spoke this matter. Then the Holy One, the teacher, went on to say, a friend who's a helper, one the same in both pleasure and pain, a friend of good counsel, and one of compassion. An astute person understands these 4 friends for what they are and carefully looks after them like a mother the child at her breast. The astute and virtuous shine like a burning flame. Now, any of us may be familiar with practitioners who have not absorbed the idea of the Kalyanamitta. We need to be there for our friends in the Sangha, first of all as helpers, then being aware, which means being aware of others' needs and finding ways to assist them. Second, acting as the friend who does not abandon others when they are in trouble. Thirdly, we need to be the friend with discernment who discourages others from making mistakes and encourages them to undertake good actions. We need to point out the way to bring the Dharma to life. And fourthly, we need to be sympathetic, rejoice in others' good fortune, and protect our friends from gossip and mistreatment. It is an ordinary human failing to criticize others, particularly when they are not around, and give free rein to our anger, resentment, and jealousy. But if we are to build communities, then we need to step back from these tendencies and also protect our Sangha sisters from them. Peace building and community building doesn't happen without effort. It takes courage to step in and put a stop to malicious gossip. We also have an acute responsibility to be absolutely ethical in all of our dealings. Just as the surveillance camera of karma is always in operation, we need to be aware that we have to be answerable as community leaders and public figures for our actions. So I'm the Vice President of the Buddhist Council of Victoria, the BCV, which was set up in the 1990s to enable temples from all different backgrounds to work together on areas of common interest. I have become aware that many of our member temples from different communities have extreme problems with financial management. In one case, the Linh Son Vietnamese Buddhist temple in Melbourne, the monk in charge attempted to become a property investor and ended up going into debt for millions of dollars and losing the temple, which was sold in 2021. In another case, a Cambodian temple did not keep clear lists of current financial members, and so it was not certain who had responsibility for the temple. The case ended up in the Supreme Court of Victoria this year and has cost tens of thousands of dollars, and make sure that his or her work is supervised by others. It may be that you are not personally responsible for handling money, but it is important to have oversight over how it is spent. For example, bank accounts should have 2 signatories before monies can be paid out. When donations are collected in a box, at the end of the day, 2 people should count the money together. Donations must be recorded, and where they are for specific purposes, then they cannot be spent on something else without the agreement of the donor. I am familiar with a case where a building project raised millions of dollars for a statue over a period of 30 years, but the money raised was then repurposed to raise more money for the statue. In some ways, this could be called a Ponzi scheme. No statue was built, but in reality, the cost was always much greater than realistically could ever have been raised. So if you are raising money, please make sure that you are raising it for a realistic project and not to build Disneyland. Arguments over money are a sure way of bringing division into a community, not to mention the reputational damage that is accrued in the wider community, and it doesn't help the Dhamma. Another way of building community is through our work in the wider community. In Victoria, we have a chaplaincy program that sends ordained monks and nuns and trained lay people into prisons and hospitals to assist prisoners and patients. The prison work is paid for by the state government, and it helps prisoners to reform. Refuge ceremonies are very popular, and the BCV's senior chaplain, Venerable Hojin Futin, has been working in this field for 10 years. We also offer chaplaincy in hospitals at difficult times in their lives. Ever since the Bhikkhuni Sasana was re-established in Sri Lanka, I have heard that you have become important community figures as counsellors and advisors. These are valuable leadership roles, and they can be extended. In Australia, we pride ourselves on being a diverse, multicultural society, and I represent the Buddhist Council of Victoria on the state government's Multi-Faith Advisory Group. We talk with government representatives on legislation that affects the different religious communities, and sometimes we provide input into legislation. Separately to that, the BCV has campaigned for an end to the shooting of wild water birds, like the hobby of hunting, and we presented a petition to government representatives with 13,000 signatures calling for a ban. This led to an inquiry which recommended that duck shooting should be banned, and we are waiting for the government to implement the recommendation. The petition now has 30,000 signatures, and we have worked with other animal protection organisations to gain support. If we are successful, we will have played a part in saving the lives of 250,000 birds per year. We have received government funding also to assist the Buddhist community to combat family violence, and have engaged with the Vietnamese, Chinese, Tibetan, Sri Lankan, Nepalese, and Thai communities in this work. Dr. Pravina Rajgopal, who you're going to hear from shortly, is our project officer. I was the foundation president of Sakidita Australia, as Venerable Bodhicitta kindly mentioned, which brings together Buddhist women from all traditions into a national organisation. Please consider setting up national and international organisations so as to formalise your collaborative work. And if possible, join Sakidita International. It is already there. For over 20 years, I have engaged in interfaith dialogue and sought to find common ground with people from other religions. In this way, I have built strong networks and genuine friendships with people from many communities. So please be aware of the different layers of communities to which you belong. There is your home community where you live. There is the wider Buddhist community. There is the community at the level of state and country. And there are also communities you can develop, such as through building networks, through interfaith dialogue, or by collaboration on shared projects. I recommend that all of us become experts in whatever field we find the most compelling. You might become the most expert meditator, counselor, or teacher, or the most expert at conflict resolution. You might also become an expert gardener or cook, but we can all stretch and extend ourselves to be the best we can be. Whatever we do, we need to pay attention to those who are around us and bring them along with us. We can't achieve anything without. In the Upada Sutta, Ananda said to the Buddha that Kalyanamitta, good friends, companions, and associates, are half of the spiritual life. And the Buddha replied, "Not so, Ananda, not so, Ananda. Good friends, companions, and associates are the whole of the spiritual life. A mendicant with good friends, companions, and associates can expect to develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path." So let's think about our Kalyanamitta and how we can build communities together. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It's midnight for you and very fresh.
1 o'clock in the morning. It's 1 o'clock
yeah,
in the morning.
yeah, but I can see you're so fresh. And thank you so much for taking time to do the research and
My
mapping
pleasure.
out
Thank you.
from here to where and giving us some suggestions as how to get there. So I hope there were good, very good suggestions for the bhikkhunis to consider as to, if they want to flourish and if they want to spread their wings, what we can do. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and also giving us these fresh new suggestions for the bhikkhunis to consider.
Thank you.
May you be well and happy and have a good night. Hope you will stay with us.
I will stay until the end. I'm interested to hear the rest. It's been a very great program.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next is that before we go to question and answer session, you all have an opportunity to ask questions. But I see some of the great supporters of the bhikkhunis who have helped to establish or who support the modern bhikkhunis in Malaysia, Sister Barbara Ying and Dr. Prem, Don Prem from Buddhist Mahavihara is logged in, and also I can see Professor Bayaroho Natukara also. So you all welcome to switch on your mics and speak few words if you like to, as a way of me acknowledging your contributions to the Bhikkhuni Sasana. I would like to give you that opportunity. And also, I am being asked by Venerable Maharagama Palawana, Bhikkhuni from Sri Lanka. She just rang me before we started this and said there's many Sanghamitta Day celebrations going on in Sri Lanka. And if she could bring it to our attention, so whoever would like to attain to them, so they can. So I would also like to invite Maharagama Palawana Theri also to, if you would like to take 5 minutes and brief us on what's being arranged in Sri Lanka to celebrate the Sanghamitta Day celebrations. So it's up.
Thank you very much, Venerable Bhikkhuni Bodhicitta from Australia. You have been taking so much effort to do this, and it's going on very well. I'm very happy about it. And to make it short, I just wanted to say first of all, Vandami Bhante, Venerable Kalupana Piyaratana Thero, and the other Theros who are there. And I want to say something, Venerable Bhikkhuni, that I heard our Venerable Sir talking with a heart with a feeling of hurt himself. So I would like to apologize myself, whoever the done wrong thing or some mistake. And sorry, Venerable Sir, we would like to put it to right. And I just want to say, we all know that we are working without any acceptance, and our identity cards are lost. Anyway, we are striving hard, and we are going through. And this time, we were able to celebrate Sanghamitta Day, and we have been celebrating till the end of January month, and we have organized very many things in Colombo. And in Mathura area, huge festival with Pindapata Charika and Dana and some celebration, and also one in Gaul and Candy. So I wanted to tell you all that whoever, whatever we are, even though we are not accepted, we are doing hard. And this is for the Sasana, Buddha Sasana, and for the Bhikkhuni Sasana. And we hope that someday we will win. So I think it's not nice to take much time. So with a little time slot given to me, I'm satisfied. And thank you very much. And thank you very much for the whole gathering that have gathered today to celebrate or to talk about or pay homage to Sanghamitta Theri, our ma from India, and she was here until her Parinibbana in Sri Lanka with us. So we are going through the path she showed us. Thank you very much. Vandami.
Thank you so much, Venerable. Thank you for sharing with us what's happening in Sri Lanka. And now I would like to open the floor for question and answer. So if someone has any questions, please switch on your mics. I think the host will allow you to do that. And if Barbara and sister, if you want to speak few words, or Brother Don Prem want to speak few words, Professor Dairo Hanatsukabrala want to speak few words, you're welcome.
Yes. Thank you very much, Venerable. It's been a long time since you see you. I cannot start my video, Venerable. They put
That's
there
fine.
the.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, start my video. Oh, okay. I'm very inspired by all the speakers. Thank you very much for everyone who organized this webinar. We hope that more will happen in future. What I believe, some of the speakers say we have to start a community, a small community in our area, so that we can speak about this thing instead of in a big webinar all the time, where we don't have the chance to share and discuss deeply. Right now, the Gotami Vihara that we have started, there are no resident nuns at the moment, but we always welcome those who are passing by, who are who want short stays or having a self-retreat to do so. For the last speaker, I really agreed with her all the challenges that organizations encounter, especially if the leadership is not there or not able to operate it in a way that it should be done. So as like people who are aging, organizations also age. And when organizations age, they also lose their vision and mission, not realizing it. And, the sight is not so great, hearing also not so great, thinking and logical, rational thinking might be a bit slow. So we need to be aware of that. And we need to build a new waves of leadership. That's why right from the beginning, when I started Gotami, I make it a point that the president should not hold the post for 2 terms, like some of the country's presidents, so that I have to leave my post and someone has to take over. And there were a lot of grumblings and dissatisfaction at first. But now we have at least 5 or 6 rounds already of leadership, and we really help to build up young people to take over. We are not going to be around all the time. So that's what I want to say here. Thank you. Thank you for calling me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's one of the big jobs of being a leader, is to train the succession. Because if there's no succession, then the organization falls over. So it's a very valuable idea to give everyone that opportunity to have that leadership role, and then everybody is upskilled. It's a development opportunity for people to be given responsibility and to be given those roles, and it increases the strength of the organization to have new ideas. So well done.
And also I agree with you that the signature of 2 people for the accounts to issue a check or any payment. For us, we have 3 people, 3 persons who sign.
Yeah. Well, we have to have in the BCV, we have to have a motion from the committee to agree to spend money. But I'm aware that, like we had these organizations where people just fell over, spending money on investment properties and mortgaging their temples and losing them. And so, but strong processes, the systems and structures are really valuable. They might sound boring, but actually they are create robust organizations. So that's a really important thing to have those systems.
Yes, this is not the Australia is not the only place that it happened that organization have lost the property by investing in things that they are not really good at. They're not good investment and business.
Yeah, and I mean, people can be misled, so this temple in Melbourne that was sold 2 years ago, the man got deceived by kind of mafia types. So, he was misled. So it's so important to have some collaborative structures and systems to make sure that if one person is not really aware of what's going on, that it doesn't lead to the fall of the whole organization.
Yes, and also any donation or sale of anything, we must issue a receipt, because if there are things that we don't, if organization doesn't issue a receipt and say it's okay, and then other items, then you need a receipt. So it doesn't really look well on the organization. For us, even if a $5 donation, we will give a receipt.
Okay,
Malaysian.
I've seen many occasions where money is just collected in a box. People just a donation box, so there's no receipt. But in that case, you must have two people counting the money.
Yes.
At least, so then everybody has the transparency. It's just about openness.
Thank you so much for pointing us out the things that we should take care of. And I thank you very much, Sister Barbara, for being with us tonight. Thank you so much. And I see there is a raised hand by Krishanti Abesiriwardana, so it looks like she may have a question for us. Would you like to?
Yes.
Krishanti, would you like to turn your mic and the video and talk to us?
We need the screen.
Can you?
Little bit, yeah.
Hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Okay. Yes, my name is Krishanti. I born and Thailand Saranai. I'm Sri Lankan, live in the UK. Are you still with me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
I thank you so much for this program, which I came to through a WhatsApp Buddhist group. And I am really, so happy to hear all these talks and to gather a lot of information, which I had the interest long term about Bhikkhu Sasa, Bhikkhuni Sasa, and all these areas we discussed today. So may I ask your opinion or advice, as we are summarizing our talks right now, what are our priorities as a group? And also what are these? Thank you.
We lost the second half of the question. The first half was, what are the priorities as a group? What was the second half of the question?
Oh, yes. I was asking kind of for further discussion, what would be our future objectives as an international group to work consistently regardless of where we live?
So that's for Venerable
Did you hear me?
Bodhisattva. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think it's a very good question. And I think at this stage, even in Australia, though we have the liberty to have the higher ordination and it's being accepted, but still there is from the Theravada countries that some still do not recognize it or accept it. So I think we have a long way to go and we need to work on that. People see the value of the bhikkhunis, their contributions, that they can't knock it out. So they will one day wholeheartedly accept seeing the bhikkhunis carrying out the mission of the Buddha, and they become invaluable assets in the Buddha Sasana. So then naturally one day I think they will stop opposing and they will hopefully accept the bhikkhuni. So like Dai cousins showed to us, suggested to us, that I think it's time the bhikkhunis stop fighting for recognition, but we must focus on our duties, what we should do, how we should help the community, and as soon as we see the opportunity, you should take the leadership and lead by example and be there for one another and support from PALCare to the nursing home to the aged care and to doing the counseling and wherever the opportunity comes to help someone who is suffering and to show them the way to be free from suffering. I think we should step forward and do it like Buddha had done. Buddha was not looking for recognition. Buddha just did what he had to do. And when people saw the value in the Buddha's work, they put Buddha on the pedestal. So I think in the same way that the bhikkhuni should continue to work, and hopefully one day all this resistance and opposing things and all that will go away. But even if they are there, I think the bhikkhuni still can continue to work for their own liberation and to help others to find the liberation. That's my thing. And I think we can have another seminar or webinar on as how and what we should do and how to plan and all that. There is Mahatheris in this floor, so I would like to invite if any Mahatheris want to add on to this.
Thank you so much. And also, I was going to suggest one of the speakers mentioned that Venerable Anagarika Dharmapala, one of our pioneers in the Buddha Sasana to come to this level, as I believe. I think he has already done some work. May I request from all of you to re-establish or reinvent that work on behalf of all of us, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it is the Mahabodhi Society in India that they have established that society to carry out Venerable Anagarika Dharmapala Thuma's valuable work, and they are working on it. And the general secretary of that organization is our Venerable P. Sivali Nayaka Mahathero, even though he couldn't be with us tonight to deliver his speech because he's not well. But he is doing his utmost, and his colleagues and also the committee and everyone to do the whatever that they can do to continue Anagarika Dharmapala Thuma's valuable work. So it is being done, and I think many people are joining them, the membership, and they're doing with this now the seminars and the webinars coming Zoom and all that. They are doing a lot of things to reach out and to continue Venerable Dharmapala's work. And anyone who is interested, I think you can join the Mahabodhi Society of India and help continue.
Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. So I think because the time is moving, if no one, okay, there is another hand being raised. I was going to go for the summary, but never mind. There is Timo Trohan from ITBMU. You're welcome to ask your question. Then after that, I think we will make this the last question and go to the summary.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Thank you, first of all, every presenter who are still here, because it has been very, very interesting for me. Like, I'm Timo, I'm from Finland. I'm actually studying Myanmar, my diploma in Theravada Buddhism. And I'm particularly interested now from Venerable Kalu Pahana, because your discussion on the rejuvenation of Bhikkhuni order in Sri Lanka, but this is actually a general question for all the ones who have been establishing a Bhikkhuni order in their respective countries. Do you believe the support of the state is essential to it? Because to some extent, for a somewhat outsider person, I feel like to some extent when the Bhikkhunis go to different countries to study, and then they come back like that way, that they are almost like somewhat renegades when they come there, because there's no unity within the Sangha like that way. And I'm just concerned, like will there be any difficulties, I mean, with regard to the unity in the future of the Sangha? Now, it's a little bit long question, but I'm just curious to hear your opinions on the state involvement in general.
I think that was a question for you, Venerable Kalupahana, and you're on silent.
Yes, I think that the essential of the recognition, no?
Yeah.
Yes. But I think there are two parts. When spiritually or religiously, we don't want any recognition from any part. We can practice our Dhamma, we can achieve our goal. But there are some, when we are living in a society, there are some regulations and rules. So we have to obey that regulation and rules. An example that in Sri Lanka, all the monasteries should be registered in the Ministry of the religious authorities. So when the Bhikkhuni Arama, Bhikkhuni's monastery, to go to the ministry, they ask some kind of recognition letters from the Mahanayaka or some kind of organization. So they are only recognize the letters from the established Nikayas or established organization. So there are no established organization, no some kind of authority for the Bhikkhunis, because Mahanayakas, the hierarchy Mahanayakas are not accepting they are as Bhikkhunis. So there are Sila Mata organization. Sila Mata organization, they are seminars, 10 precept nuns, not the Bhikkhunis, not the monastic community, but they are living as monastic community. Yellow robe ladies who are observing 10 precepts. So government recognized that thing, that organization. So Sila Matas have some authority to issuing letters. But Sila Matas not issuing letters to the Bhikkhuni temples. They said, we are Sila Matas, you are not our members, so we can't issue letter for you. Then that is the problem. So fortunately, some Mahanayakas are giving some letters, some chapters of the Amarapura Nikaya, Mahanayakas giving letters to Bhikkhunis when they are going to register their temples. The temple belongs to that Mahanayaka. So the government registered that temple as a temple belongs to the Mahanayaka Thera, not belongs to the Bhikkhunis. So that kind of problems are there. When they are going to have their identity card, they are not a relevant authority to issue letter to them. Mahanayakas are not issuing letters. When we issue letters, it is not recognized by the government. Sila Mata is not issuing letter for the identity card for the bhikkhunis. So they are not having identity card. So this kind of things happening in countries. But I think gradually we are resolving this problem, and in future we can win all these problems.
Thank you for your answer. It was very interesting, definitely. And the topic is, again, really fascinating. So thank you very much for your time. Very good answer.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Bante, for answering that question and being with us till to the end. Even though your health is not that good, but so much merits for the commitment. Okay, now that there is no other questions, I would like to invite our Dr. Praveena Rajkabur. She's a lecturer in Monash University in Sociology section, and she is working with the Buddhist Society of Victoria and doing a current project like our Dr. Dai Cousins said that she's doing a project there currently. So let us invite Dr. Praveena to give a summary on today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Venerable Bodhicitta, and also thank you very much, Venerable monastics and esteemed scholars, for your profound insights that enriched our understanding of the legacy of Bhikkhunis and Buddhist women today, tracing their journey from historical origins to contemporary times. Now it's over to me to give a summary of the key takeaway messages from what we learned today. To me, the most important takeaway really was about the equal rights, transcending gender divisions, to practice and devote ourselves to the spiritual path illuminated by the Lord Buddha for all sentient beings. The emphasis is also on the necessity of collaborations and support to continue this truth, both in the present and carry this forward into the future. So starting with Venerable Bodhicitta's introductory talk, and Upasika Sirini's more detailed account, we explored the historical roots of establishing this right for women to ordain as Bhikkhuni Sangha, going back in about 2,300 years to the time of the Sri Lankan king Devanampiyathissa and Indian king Asoka the Great, which tells us about the importance and significance of international collaborations and connections that were necessary in the sustenance and the spread of this Dharma. Such connections and collaborations are also important in the spread of this Dharma globally and re-establishing this Dharma in the regions where Dharma has waned. As this historical story between India and Sri Lanka tells us, there was a great connection and special diplomatic relations between Sri Lanka and India when Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta arrived in Sri Lanka in 236 BCE. A great part of the success relates also to the confidence and independence shown by Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta at that time to embark on this journey to Sri Lanka along with several other Bhikkhunis during a time when rigid Brahmanic ideals regarding women were the norm. She was also of royal birth. Going on a hazardous journey was one of the challenges and not something of the ordinary for her. So therefore, Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta also exemplified liberation, both in a feminist and a spiritual sense. Venerable Bodhicitta in one of her talks highlighted the risks of such missions by sea and encouraged us to think about the courage demonstrated by these bhikkhunis at these times, sailed through dangerous seas to spread the message of Buddhism. Regardless, as Anna's talk on digital darkinis highlighted, gender inequality is prevalent prevalent in Buddhist practice from past to present. And at present, there are new and more current ways of Buddhists claiming freedom through activism, through various movements such as Sakyadhita, and also in digital forms to assert gender equality in the spiritual path and in Buddhist practice. As Venerable Dhammananda Mahatheri told us, some of the important work in this space has also been about change making, especially in social structures such as caste system in India and gender norms anywhere else in the world. Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta was coming from India to Sri Lanka to fulfill the wish of Queen Anula to become a bhikkhuni. So once again, Upasika Sirini made us aware of the whole story, and she gave us a full account of the story, including a picture of the relics from Anula Mahatheri. So as we learned that she was a queen, and she was the wife to a sub-king of the island called Mahanaga. Another thing that's significant here is the support of male kings and the high-ups in the society, encouraging women to get into this spiritual path. The significance is also on the progress that countries like Sri Lanka and India were making in terms of gender equality and social acceptance for women's intellectual capabilities because of Buddhist values, like back in the 2nd or 3rd century BCE. As Venerable Dhammananda, however, highlighted, these individuals were royals and educated, and they had a better chance to challenge social norms and structures. Her talk gave us something to think about as to how far do we know about the trends among the general public during these times outside of the high-up society. Bhikkhuni lineage also spread to China from Sri Lanka, showing the progressive attitudes of these countries as well as the relationships that prevailed at the time around 429 BCE and 433 BCE. A detailed account of this was provided in Professor Hao Wei Min's video that was played. At that time, there has been about 300 bhikkhunis in China who achieved Theravada full ordination. Professor Hao Wei Min in his video also made us aware about the current and ongoing research into these areas. These messages came out in Upasika Sirini's historical account of Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta, and also the spread of Dharma throughout other countries such as Taiwan and Korea. Coming to the recent past, we learned that despite the challenges leading to the lapse of the Bhikkhuni lineage for about a millennium, there has been a remarkable revival again since the late 90s. As Venerable Dhammananda revealed in her account, this was in 1998 in Saranath, India. And Venerable Kalupahana Mahathero also gave us a clear account of the developments related to the re-establishment of the Bhikkhuni order in this time. It was very interesting to hear the two arguments that Venerable Kalupahana Mahathero highlighted here that were, can the Chinese nuns help in the revival of the Bhikkhuni order, or do we have to wait until the time for the next Buddha's enlightenment? However, Venerable Kalupahana Mahathero showed us the leadership that several academics and bhikkhus in Sri Lanka took in making Bhikkhuni ordination a reality in Sri Lanka again. These revivals once again demonstrated the supportive role played by the Bhikkhu Sangha for the revival of the Bhikkhuni order, both in Sri Lanka and internationally. And Venerable Dhammananda Mahatheri acknowledged this, paying her gratitude. Venerable Dhammananda Mahatheri gave a detailed account of the number of bhikkhunis getting ordained in recent times in different countries and where bhikkhuni ordination does not yet occur. Thus, the fourfold community of fully ordained monks, fully ordained nuns, lay women, and laymen, which Buddha declared as integral to the success of Buddhism, has been re-established once again in our current times in many different Buddhist countries, which is such a blessing to think about. Venerable Bodhicitta made us aware of the importance of these 4 pillars in her introductory talk, and Anna highlighted the importance of alliances among the fourfold community in the era of ultra-modern Buddhism. In a similar vein, Dr. Dai Cousins introduced the importance of community and the importance of communities working together for common goals. Dai Cousins also introduced us to the concept of Kalyanamitta with a quote from Buddha, which was very inspirational. Venerable Kalupahana Mahathero stressed also the importance of the collaborations with bhikkhus and the efforts that should be taken to maintain the continued support from Mahatheros and the level of respect and gratitude that must be maintained between the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. And further to this, Venerable Dhammananda over and over again highlighted the importance of education to achieve the equality we seek and the power of language when it comes to bhikkhuni ordination, especially the knowledge of native languages where bhikkhuni ordination happens. Translation to own scripts was also identified as a step forward to support the continuation of bhikkhuni order. Professor Asanga Tilakaratne stressed the space provided and facilitated in Sri Lanka for the continuous dialogue on bhikkhuni ordination. Religious and organizational dimensions related to this dialogue were presented for discussion by Professor Asanga Tilakaratne. So the key takeaway echoes the themes of unity, international collaboration, and inclusivity within the fourfold community of fully ordained monks, fully ordained nuns, lay women, and laymen. These collaborative efforts form a promising strength, paving the way to overcome challenges and ensure the continued flourishing of the Bhikkhuni order in the name of Sanghamitta. So through efforts like this, let us carry forward the torch of this light and wisdom, compassion, creating and maintaining the path of Buddhism for future generations. And thank you very much for everyone for listening to my talk, and my apologies if I have missed anything in this summary. Now I hand over to Venerable Bodhicitta Mahatheri to give her word of thanks and add anything that I may have missed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for Dr. Praveena Rajkapoor for your very precise, short and sweet summary. And I think we can't ask for more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Venerable Bodhicitta.
And I want to make a correction. I'm not a Mahatheri yet, but just a little Theri.
I'm so sorry. I'm not familiar with the addresses yet. So yes, my apologies if I have made any mistakes in that as well.
No, you're okay. But I didn't want to take that on board on when I don't have 20 years of Vasa.
Oh, okay.
So now I think it's my time to give vote of thanks. So first of all, I would like to thank all the Mahasangha, the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis who have walked before us and did a lot of research, spent their valuable time and effort and everything to establish the Bhikkhuni order and to revive this Bhikkhuni order. So I would like to pay my respect starting from the Buddha to the Mahapajapati Gautami Theri and all the other great disciples, and then coming to Venerable Mahasanghamita Arahanta Theri, and from there the Devasara Bhikkhuni Theri, and from there the Bhikkhuni Kusuma Mahatheri, and then so on the current our Bhikkhuni Mahatheris leading us. So I would like to pay my respect to all of them for their hard work and the leadership that they are giving from in the past, the present and the future. And also would like to thank especially for my late teacher Bhante Punaji, and also Bhikkhuni Kusuma Mahatheri, and also Venerable Kesari Dhammananda Thero for having a great impact on my life, and also Venerable Bhante Kirimala Jyoti and Bhikkhuni Dhammashanti Mahatheri from the Kanduvala Bhikkhuni Training Center for training us and shaping us to be here today in this form. And I also would like to thank Dr. Praveena Rajkabul. I think without her, this webinar won't be this successful. This is the first time I have been given the opportunity and the challenge to do a webinar like this when the UTBI decided that we will do the Sanghamitta Day. And they said, it's your turn. And so I took that challenge, but I haven't organized a webinar before. This was the first time. And then after I took that challenge, I spoke with Dr. Praveena and we made a sketch. And so it's with her help that this webinar got into this order. And it was, I think, very successful. And even though we had few dropouts, I think we have learned so much. We have got so many things to take home and also to implement. So thank you so much, Dr. Praveena Rajkabul, for being there and working behind the scenes to make this a success. And also there's few more others who have worked behind the curtains, and without them it won't be that success. I would like to thank Dr. Kitmini Vehalla and Mayondi Vehalla for designing the poster. A few times they had to redo it, but we got it done finally. So much merits for doing the poster for us. And also I would like to thank Dr. Anuruddha and his team members, Peshari, Palihevadana, and Eranti Vijayasundara, and Jayanta Patirana and Anuruddha Dhammapriya for doing the subtitles for the Professor Howaymin's talk. And also would like to especially thank Mr. Visita Leela Ratna for allowing me to have that video, because it was our suggestion actually to, while Professor Howaymin is alive, to document this visit and the experience, because Professor Leela Ratna is not alive now, and he has documents. With this trip and also more other things that he wanted to write, and he wanted to support the Bhikkhuni order, but during that time in Sri Lanka, it was not that favorable for the Bhikkhuni ordinations and to re-establish it. So the things have been, kept under. But now that Professor Howaymin is alive, I thought, it's very important to pin him down and get this his experience documented. So nephew of Professor Siripala Leela Ratna, Visita Leela Ratna. So that Puta got him and we did the interview, and I think it took me to that mountain actually when he's talking and he's saying, still they appreciate and embrace this Theravada tradition. And this Master Lungliang has personally said that we feel that we are Theravada Bhikkhunis. So that was very important, and it inspired me to think even one day I would like to visit those places one day. Hopefully, maybe we can arrange and go there. So thank you very much for everyone who is involved in the making the Professor Howaymin's video. And also, I would like to thank Mahanayaka Thero for forming this UTBSI and giving us leadership, and would like to thank the society. And also at the same time, I would like to wish a speedy recovery for Bante Sivali from all the merits that we generated today. May Bante find a speedy recovery, comfort, good health, peace of mind and happiness, and get well soon. And also, I would like to make a very special thank to all the speakers for taking time and to be with us, and to help us learn a lot of new things. And you disclose a lot of the things from the history, especially Venerable Kalupahana Thero, even though he was not well, but made a big effort to be with us today, and we learned a lot. from Bante Kalupahanatero. So I would like to thank all the presenters, and especially Bante Kalupahanatero also for pointing out that the fact that gratitude is something that we must not forget. And also, Bante, I can guarantee you, if you could give us the names of the books and the authors, we can discuss this in the UTBSI as the current Bhikkhuni leading organization and all the Mahatheris. We can write to those authors, and hopefully we can put a request to include the history and those names that should be there, because it has taken enormous time to do research, and they have sacrificed their time and effort and everything, those pioneered monks who did the research. And so they should be appreciated, and they should be mentioned in the history. We should give their due place. So I think we should take actions to correct it now that it's brought into the international attention. I'm sure UTBSI, we can do something to request to edit and include this history in those books, because after doing the research and after reviving it and after doing the first ordination in 1996 in Bodh Gaya by the Mahabodhi Society, it's easy for others to then go forward. But then because of the smooth going forth, happened due to the hard work of the previous one. We should not forget that that even though we had the second ordination happening smoothly, that it was the first ordination, and the enormous amount of research and everything that went behind on the 96 Mahabodhi Society ordination was the one that paved the way. So I think we can do something to correct if there is something need to be done in there. So please let us know, Bante Kalupahanatero, the authors, the names and everything, so UTBIS can consider to correct this. Thank you so much for pointing that out. And I would like to especially thank all the speakers, starting from our Venerable Dhammananda Theri, and then Venerable Kalupahanatero, Professor Asanga Tilakaratna, and then the cousins, and our Professor Anna Halfoff, and also our Upasika Sirini, who came to save us, and Venerable Arya Dhammananda Mahatheri, and I think they are the speakers. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. And also I would like to pay my respect to Arya Santini Mahatheri for giving us the opening blessing. And also after the vote of thanks, I would like to invite Venerable Sumangala Bhikkhuni from Malaysia to do the closing chanting. And last not least, I had to give a special thanks, not for her. I don't think I could do this webinar in this way. It is from Arya Vihara, Miss Tan. So thank you so much, Venerable Sumangala Theri, for Bhikkhuni putting me in touch with our Miss Tan from Malaysia. And Miss Tan, thank you so much for doing all the work, organizing the Zoom, organizing the YouTube and everything. So I didn't have to think anything with this technical part, which I don't know anyway. But your stepping forward and helping us with this was a great blessing, and it took a lot of pressure out from me, and it ran smoothly. So thank you so much for being there and helping us and supporting us, Venerable Sumangala, Venerable Miss Tan, and the Arya Vihara team. Thank you so much. So I would like to thank the UTBSI and all the Mahatheris for being there, guiding us and putting these webinars together. It was all of Mahathiri's idea that we should celebrate the Sanghamitta Day in this way. And also I would like to thank all of you who attended today, who asked the questions and who contributed even from a word. And so thank you so much for attending and being with us tonight and enriching this conference. Thank you. So we will bring this to an end today. If I have missed someone, please forgive me for missing you, but you are in my heart. It's just that trying to gather everything in a short time that I may have slipped, but please forgive me. But I share merits with all of you who have contributed even a little thing to make this a success. May you all be well, comfortable, peaceful, and happy. And may I ask Venerable Sumangala Bhikkhuni from Malaysia, from Arya Vihara, to do the closing chanting and the sharing of the merits, and then we will bring this program to an end. Thank you so much. May you all be well and happy.
Thank you, Venerable Bodhicitta Harry. So now recall to mind, as we celebrate Sanghamitta Day, that we connect to the Buddha, our great teacher, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one, and to all our Bhikkhu Sangha, Bhikkhuni Sangha, and all the noble ones. So we shall do this closing by remembering the Ovada Patimokkha for our practice, and also to bring the Sasana for the well-being, happiness, and benefit of the many. Kanti paramang tapotitika nibbana paramang vadanti buddha nahi babajito parupagati samano hoti parang vihetayanto sabba papasa akaranam kusalasa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanam etang buddhana sasanam anupavado anupagato patimokke ca samvaro matanyuta ca bhatasmin pantan ca sayanasanam abhicitte ca ayogo etang buddhana sasananti. Patient forbearance is the highest austerity. Nibbana is supreme, say the Buddha. Is not one gone forth who harms another. Is not a recluse who oppresses another. Not to do any evil, to cultivate good, purify one's mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. To speak no ill, to do no harm, to keep to the training rules. Moderate in eating, content with simple dwelling, devotion to cultivation of mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada stuti bhavantu te. Also we share this merit with the Devas and Naga's mighty power, and all the Dhamma protectors and guardian deities. May they continue to protect and belong the Buddha Dhamma and Buddha Prasanna for the well-being benefit of the many. Akasata cha Bhummata Devanaga Mahindika Punyam Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Lokasasanam Chirang Rakantu Desanam Chirang Rakantu Mamparanti. We also dedicate this merit in memory of our departed teachers, relatives, and friends, wherever they are. If they're born in a harem, they continue to rejoice and bless us and also the Susana. And if they are in need of this merit, may they also partake this merit for their spiritual well-being. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayu. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayu. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayu. By the blessings of the Triple Gem and with all your good merits and protection from the Devas, may all beings be blessed with good health, peace of mind, and continue to grow in the Dhamma, to grow in the wisdom and the confidence in the Buddha's awakening, and to grow in all the right effort and mindfulness to abandon what is unwholesome and unskillful, and to cultivate and develop all the wholesome states and skillful states, to be able to finally have higher knowledge and higher wisdom to penetrate into the profound truth that leads to liberation. So may all be blessed with the bliss of awakening at the earliest opportunity. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sukhyantu Nibbana Pachaya.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So much merits, Venerable Sumangala Bhikkhuni, for doing the closing chanting. So I wish you, all of you, the peace of mind and happiness to be with you. Let us all continue the legacy of the Venerable Sanghamitta Mahateri legacy, and do our part, whatever the little we can do to spread the Buddha Sasana. Let us continue to do that. May you all be blessed with the strength and the courage and the goodness and the wisdom to practice the Dhamma and to help others to practice the Dhamma, lead the way for the others, and to find liberation from suffering, and to help others also to find the liberation from others. I wish you all to have good health, long life. May you all be well, comfortable, peaceful, and happy, and wish you all a happy new year and peace of mind and happiness. May you all be well, comfortable, peaceful, and happy. We look forward to see you again when we organize something from UTBSI. And thank you so much once again for staying with us tonight. So good morning, good afternoon, good night. Take care. May you all
Good
be
night,
well.
Venerable. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
organizing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Suki